Now, only you and I remain. Luo Hao held the god-slaying spear, its tip leveled at Ancestor Dragon. His voice was mockingly cruel. Ancestor Dragon, I'm giving you one last chance. Submit to me, and together we'll rule the demonic path. You'll be Lord of 10,000 dragons, under my banner. Ancestor Dragon answered with a dragon breath condensed from the boundless origin of water. It slammed into the grade 12 Black Lotus of world destruction, shredding it into billions of layers of vapor without so much as scratching it. His stance, however, was unmistakable. You harmed my sons. You disrupted my clan's luck, Luo Hao. Today, it will be your death or mine. He roared, a sound that shook heaven and earth. Every purple gold scale along his immense body rose on end, edged with a cold, keen light. From him emanated a tragic, resolute aura. He knew the three clans' bid for hegemony was finished. There was no retreat left. Stubborn fool. Luo Hao's patience snapped. Devilish chi surged around him. If you insist on dying, I'll grant your wish. Your dragon soul will make a perfect offering for my god-slaying spear. The spear sang, a piercing note. The origin of slaughter uncoiled into a vast net and latched onto Ancestor Dragon. The final, decisive battle hung in the balance. At that moment, above the nine heavens, in a void realm, purple ripples spread outward without warning. At their center, a phantom of an ancient Tao palace flickered into being. A majestic, cold, impersonal will rolled over the great desolation. Luo Hao, your killing tribulation should end now. Even Xuanwu, watching from hundreds of millions of miles away, trembled at the voice. Is that Hongjun? The turtle's huge eyes, mountain-like, widened with shock. Before Long Chen could react, a figure stepped from the Phantom Palace, clutching a broken jade disc. With a single step, he crossed the chasm of space, arriving seemingly later but reaching sooner, and barred Luo Hao's path. Hongjun! Luo Hao looked up at the newcomer with apprehension and a flash of madness. You want to come snatch my fruits? Too late. Today, I'll detonate the western earth veins and bury the great desolation with my demonic path. Abandoning Ancestor Dragon, he became a streak of black light, the four ancient killing swords, immortal slaughtering, slaughter, trapping, and extinction, in hand. He charged for the core earth veins of the western continent, intending to form the immortal slaughtering sword formation and tear down the world's foundations. For the first time, Hongjun's voice was laced with anger. Shards of the creation jade disc scattered into 10,000 divine lights and wrapped Luo Hao in them. A clash that overturned law erupted. The aftershocks shredded the void realm where Long Chen and the others stood. Retreat! Long Chen gave a low cry, unfurled the 24 heavens worlds to shelter Xuanwu, and fell back hundreds of millions of miles. He did not watch the titanic duel. His focus was on his father, Ancestor Dragon. The moment Hongjun appeared, Ancestor Dragon stopped. The rage that had burned in his eyes went out. The aura he had readied for mutual annihilation dissipated. His colossal body floated in the bloody sky like a silent, forlorn monument. He watched Hongjun and Luo Hao struggle, watched Luo Hao be driven back step by step, but there was no triumph in his eyes, only a thread of enlightenment, sorrow, and relief. Something's wrong. Xuanwu's deep voice cut through the haze. Your Highness, this is not how it should be. From the rumors Old Turtle, heard before I fell asleep, the Tao Demon conflict should have been Hongjun acting with Ancestor Yin and Yang, Ancestor Qianqun, and Ancestor Dragon together against Luo Hao. Why is Ancestor Dragon the only one acting now? And why is it happening so early? Xuanwu's words were lightning, slicing the fog in Long Chen's mind. He watched as Ancestor Dragon turned his head. Father and son, separated by fractured space, met each other's gaze. In Ancestor Dragon's eyes, there was no rage, no regret, only deep satisfaction and a heavy trust. He slowly nodded at Long Chen, a father's last approval. Then he moved, not to aid Hongjun, not to seize a chance to flee. His vast body turned east toward the endless ocean that had birthed and nurtured him. He flew slowly. With every mile traveled, flesh, blood, and scale transmuted into the purest origin dragon chi and rained down. Collapsed earth rose again under that dragon chi, forming continuous mountain ranges. Dried riverbeds moistened and swelled into flowing currents. With his own body, he mended the wounds the tribulation had torn in the great desolation. Father God! Long Chen clenched his fists. Purple gold dragon blood oozed between his fingers, dripping into the void realm, but he did not move or call out. He understood this was his father's choice, part of the script written by some loftier existence for him and the Dragon Clan. Born from the Four Seas, strong in the Four Seas, returning to the Four Seas. Ancestor Dragon's silhouette grew faint. When he reached the shore of the East Sea, his 10,000-mile body had thinned to nearly transparent dragon soul. He turned once toward the great desolation behind him, then toward Long Chen. A relieved smile touched the dragon soul's face. The Dragon Clan, I leave it to you. A thought, transcending time and space, entered Long Chen's sea of consciousness with crystalline clarity. Without hesitation, Ancestor Dragon dove into the roiling East Sea. Instantly, the Four Seas stirred. Endless origin of water surged up from the depths and formed an indestructible blue barrier between the Four Seas and the Great Desolation continent. Ancestor Dragon, transformed into an everlasting eye, would forever suppress the luck of the Four Seas. At the same time, Long Chen saw more. Qilin merging with the Earth Veins, Yuanfeng taking charge of the Fire Veins, and Ancestor Dragon subduing the Four Seas. The monstrous karma their three clans had amassed over eons, the monstrous weight born of their struggle for dominance, was being rapidly accounted for. It did not vanish. It was counterbalanced by their meritorious deeds, mending heaven and earth with their very bodies. A frigid realization settled in Long Chen's mind. He finally grasped the crucial truths. Why had the three clans been driven mad? Why had the Great Tribulation erupted so precisely? Why had Hongjun acted alone and so early? He laughed then, a burst of cold, mocking mirth. Even Xuanwu felt a chill. So that's how it is. No struggle for hegemony, no chosen protagonists, Long Chen said quietly, every word a blade. The Dragon Clan, the Phoenix Clan, the Qilin Clan, we were tools raised by the Heavenly Tao. The Heavenly Tao needs living beings to cultivate the Great Desolation, to make the world vibrant. That growth inevitably spawns evil qi and karma. When the impurities accumulate until the world cannot bear them, what happens? Then a great tribulation is triggered. He pointed at the world being healed beneath them. The strongest races of this era are pushed onto the altar. They slaughter one another, offer their flesh, divine souls, and luck to fill the void and settle the karma. We were never overlords. Long Chen's voice rose with burning hatred and killing intent. We were the tribulation itself. We were disposable tools the Heavenly Tao used to sweep up filth and complete the world's reincarnation. He stared through the endless void, directly at the flickering phantom of the Tao Palace. His enemy was not Luo Hao nor Yuan Feng. It was the Heavenly Tao that had set these merciless rules and treated all lives like straw dogs. You want my Dragon Clan to be your sacrifice to settle karma? Dream on. Long Chen enunciated each word like a covenant to the 9 heavens above. I, Long Chen, swear. In this life, I will not only lead the Dragon Clan to survive, I will break your damned reincarnation. My Dragon Clan will never be a tribulation. Chapter 42. The laws of nature are chess, and I overturned the chessboard. Long Chen's blood oath thundered over the shattered western continent. Each word rang like a drumbeat of doom. His voice was not loud, but it was wilder than Luohu's demonic chants, and prouder than Hongjun's Taoist proclamations. Xuanwu's vast turtle body, as immovable as a mountain, shuddered. The mysterious waters of the North Sea, boiling around him, roiled from that tremor emanating from Long Chen's divine soul. He thought, he's gone mad. The crown prince of the Dragon Clan had truly lost his mind. Swearing by the Heavenly Tao to break the cycle of reincarnation and vowing to ensure the Dragon Clan would never again become a calamity, what was that but an ant roaring at the heavens, claiming it could punch a hole through the sky? Your Highness. Xuanwu's voice was dry and quavering. Watch your words. The Heavenly Tao is merciless. A heaven-defying oath like that will summon boundless karma fire and annihilate both body and spirit. Karma fire? Long Chen laughed, a cold, humorless sound. Fellow Taoist, look at this world. He pointed toward the place where Qilin and Yuan Feng had fallen. Qilin, Yuan Feng, my father, the ancestor dragon, did any of them lack world-shaking karma and abundant luck? And the result? Xuanwu could not answer. Long Chen then pointed to Luohu, who was locked in a death match with Hongjun. Look at him. He makes slaughter his Tao, is entangled in karma, and yet he can force that fellow Taoist into a stalemate. Tell me, Long Chen continued, What use is karma? What is there truly to fear from it? Xuanwu was stunned into silence. He had guarded the North Pole Heavenly Gate for ages, accumulating immeasurable karma, and yet had suffered Tao injuries and fallen into slumber at the bottom of the sea, awaiting the fate of becoming a heavenly pillar. And now this anomaly, Long Chen, who dared to overturn the chessboard, spoke and offered the only sliver of hope he had left. Everything he had believed in unraveled in an instant. Then, what exactly is the heavenly Tao? Xuanwu's great eyes were full of confusion. The heavenly Tao is law, Long Chen said calmly, eyes fixed on the world-shattering battle. It has no good or evil, only balance. The three clans contended for supremacy and rent the primordial world into chaos. There was too much karma. The law could not flow. What must be done? Then kill you all, use your bones and luck to repair this world, and restore the law's smooth flow, he said plainly. The words chilled Xuanwu more than any demonic incantation. In his giant eyes, the last shred of reverence for the world died. Then, what do we do now? He asked in a low voice. He had already tied his fate to Long Chen's. Wait. Long Chen's gaze slid back to the battlefield. Hongjun's Taiji diagram had become a golden bridge spanning heaven and earth, holding Luohu's 12th grade Black Lotus of world destruction at bay. Each shake of the Pangu banner in Hongjun's hand unleashed a wave of Chaos Sword Chi that tore through the void realm, carving bone-deep wounds into Luohu's demonic body. Demonic blood spattered onto the shattered earth below and was absorbed, turning into an even more virulent devilish chi that fed Luohu. And Luohu resisted savagely. Each thrust of his god-slaying spear carried the law of ultimate slaughter, its red tip forcing Hongjun to dodge, buying only temporary respite. Your Highness, that fellow Taoist seems to be gaining the upper hand, Xuanwu observed. Upper hand? Long Chen shook his head. Look closer. Luohu is constantly consuming devilish chi. Yes, but the destructive chi, the evil chi, the resentment of the entire Western continent flows into him without stop. On this land, he is immortal and indestructible. As for that fellow Taoist, every time he uses the Pangu banner, he consumes his own origin. If this drags on, it's impossible to say who will win. Just as Long Chen had predicted, the battle ground to a stalemate. Hongjun's face grew grave. The 10,000 dragons seal on Long Chen's brow stirred faintly. A divine thought pierced space and time, linking to the East Sea Crystal Palace. Your Highness! Zulong's ancient, excited voice rang in his sea of consciousness. You're alive. That's wonderful, our Father God. I already know about Father God, Long Chen said calmly. Elder Zulong, follow my orders. Your Highness, speak. From this moment on, no one from the Dragon Clan is to step even half a pace beyond the 4 seas. Activate the 10,000 Dragons World Purification Formation at full power. Conceal all our chi. To the outside world, the Dragon Clan will appear completely sealed off. Zulong was stunned. Your Highness, let them play out the drama on their own, Long Chen said without emotion. When they're exhausted and crippled from fighting, we'll go out and clean up the battlefield. Inside the Crystal Palace, Zulong felt no offense at these cold, ruthless orders. Instead, he breathed easier. This was the Crown Prince he knew, strategic, seeing the world as a chessboard. We respectfully obey your Highness's decree, Zulong replied. Long Chen cut the connection and returned his gaze to the duel. Your Highness, are we just going to watch? Xuanwu still felt uneasy. Or what? Long Chen retorted. Charge in and be a pawn for that fellow Taoist, only to be discarded when he's done? Rush to aid Luohu and then be purged along with the demonic path by that fellow Taoist? Xuanwu fell silent. So we just watch. Long Chen's tone relaxed. Watch them fight like dogs. How entertaining. He closed his eyes. His divine thought, like an invisible net, probed into the chaotic battlefield of laws. He was not idle, he was observing, analyzing. Hongjun's Tao of balance and Luohu's Tao of slaughter, their origin laws, clashed in the most intense possible fashion. A top-tier demonstration of Tao rarely seen even in 10,000 eons. Long Chen intended to imprint fragments of that great Tao into his divine soul and turn them into his own resources. He was not merely a spectator, he was a fisherman, casting his nets into the turmoil. While the dragon and the turtle watched, the battle shifted. Hongjun, after fruitless efforts, finally paused in mid-void and for the first time let his voice ring across the primordial world. Luohu, your demonic path is too powerful. A lone Taoist cannot subdue you. I call on all fellow Taoists, lend me your strength. Slay this fiend and restore brightness to the primordial world." As his voice fell, a spatial rift tore open in the western sky, and an old Taoist in a green robe, willow branch in hand, stepped through, ancient spatial demon god Yang Mei. Immediately after, two divine lights descended from the heavens, one black and one white, resolving into two venerable men exuding yin and yang qi. Ancestor Qiankun and old ancestor Yin and Yang had arrived. "Fellow Taoist Hongjun, we hope you have been well." The three top-tier figures bowed to Hongjun from afar. Luohu only laughed, delighted. "Good, good, you've all come. You saved this venerable one the trouble of hunting you down one by one." He flung 4 ancient killing swords into the air: Immortal Slaughtering Sword, Immortal Slaying Sword, Trap Immortal Sword, Immortal Severing Sword. A bloody formation unfolded at once, stretching hundreds of millions of miles and enveloping Hongjun and the 3 ancestors. Boundless killing chi surged upward, staining the sky crimson. "Today, I shall let you witness the power of Pangu's first killing formation," Luohu cried. "Immortal Slaughtering Sword Formation, rise." Chapter 43. Hongjun fights Luo Hao. The prince watches the tiger fight. When the Immortal Slaughtering Sword Formation activated, the sky above the western continent went utterly black. It wasn't that the sun and moon had been extinguished. This was a termination at the level of law. All light, all laws, all vitality were conceptually erased by the soaring, bloody, killing intent. 4 towering sword gates rose in the cardinal directions, ancient blades hanging from them, and radiating a chill that froze the divine soul itself. Immortal slaughtering, immortal slaying, immortal trapping, immortal ending. "This thing is vicious," Xuanwu said dryly. The Tao runes on his mountain-like shell dimmed slightly. "I've never seen such a pure instrument of slaughter. Formed from the evil chi of Pangu's world creation, do you think it's vicious or not?" Longchen popped a pit from a flat peach into the void and bit into another, juice splattering on his lips. "They say this formation can't be broken unless 4 supreme powerhouses of equal level assault the 4 gates at once." Xuanwu's huge eyes rolled. "Then the 4 of them going in would be suicide." Outside the formation, Hongjun, Yang Mei, old ancestor Yin and Yang, and ancestor Qiankun stood grimly before the devouring pattern. "Fellow Taoist Hongjun," ancestor Qiankun warned, "the killing intent here has already congealed. If we rush in, if Luo Hao presides over it, he draws its power across the 4 gates," Hongjun replied calmly, his voice carrying a stubborn certainty. "There must be a weak point." He scanned the 3 others. "Fellow Taoist Yang Mei, your spatial law is unmatched in the primordial world. Can you find a flaw?" Yang Mei brushed his willow branch toward the void. Space rippled like water. After a few breaths, he opened his eyes and pointed to the eastern sword gate. "At that gate, the connection between the formation and the Earth's ley lines is most tenuous. That should be the weak point." "Good," Hongjun decided at once. "I will lead the attack with the Taiji diagram. The 3 of you support me. Once this gate is broken, the formation will collapse." He had already become a streak of light and vanished into the bloody world of death before his words finished. "Kill!" Yang Mei, Yin and Yang, and Qiankun exchanged looks. With no returning path, they gritted their teeth and followed. Millions of miles away, Longchen watched and shook his head. "Fools! Your Highness, what's wrong?" Xuanwu asked, puzzled. "Didn't they find a way?" "Find a way?" Longchen laughed. "That's the dead end Luo Hao left for them." He stretched a finger and traced the outline of the Immortal Slaughtering Sword Formation in the void. This formation is rooted in the western continent. It draws inexhaustible power from the land. Any gate they smash at is challenging the destructive origin of the entire continent. They'll shatter themselves trying to break it head-on. Then where's the true path to life? Xuanwu drew his huge head closer. Longchen didn't point at any sword gate. His finger landed on the faint, bloody formation diagram at the very center of the 4 gates. To kill a snake, you aim for its 7-inch mark. The core of the formation is the diagram itself, not the gates. If you can interfere with the core even for a moment, this invincible formation reveals a fatal flaw. Xuanwu fell silent, thinking. Inside the formation, the battle was more brutal than Longchen had expected. As soon as Hongjun and the others entered, an endless torrent of bloody sword chi swarmed them. Hongjun, with the Taiji diagram above his head and a golden bridge spanning the sky, was immune to most laws and managed to withstand the onslaught. Yang Mei flickered through spatial fault lines with his spatial divine ability, avoiding fatal strikes. Old Ancestor Yin and Yang and Ancestor Qiankun were less fortunate. Yin and Yang unleashed the Taiji Talisman seal. Black and white qi flowed and formed a yin-yang millstone, trying to grind down the sword qi. Ancestor Qiankun lifted the Qiankun cauldron high, letting billions of streams of mysterious yellow karma qi fall like a protective rain. Yet one inconspicuous strip of bloody sword qi, ignoring the millstone's laws, slipped around and pierced old Ancestor Yin and Yang's chest. There was no deafening explosion, only a tiny hole. From that small wound, his Tao body and primordial spirit began to vanish inch by inch, as if erased from existence. "Fellow Taoist," Ancestor Qiankun cried, but before he could do anything, dozens more sword qi seized the opening. His proud, mysterious yellow karma qi, like thin ice meeting the sun, instantly evaporated, a short, sharp scream. Two top-tier powerhouses, whose names had echoed throughout the primordial world since ancient times, were annihilated in both body and spirit. Only their ownerless spirit treasures, the Taiji Talisman seal and the Qiankun cauldron, fell to the ground with mournful sounds. "Ha! Hongjun, you're next!" Loki Hao's wild laughter echoed from every corner of the formation. Hongjun and Yang Mei's protective lights shook for the first time. "Fellow Taoist Yang Mei, let us go!" Hongjun had no will left to fight. The Pangu banner suddenly unfurled, tearing at time and space to envelop Yang Mei and force an escape. "In my immortal slaughtering formation, you think you can leave?" Luo Hao's voice chilled the marrow. The four killing swords vibrated as one, and the laws of the formation solidified instantly, locking down even Yang Mei's Tao of space. A dead end. Hongjun and Yang Mei prepared to burn their origins for a final struggle. Then a voice full of casual amusement rang from outside the formation, small and precise like a needle through the boiling world of slaughter. "Oh my, such a lively fight. Why didn't you invite my dragon clan to join?" All movement froze. Hongjun, Yang Mei, Luo Hao, three of the primordial world's supreme powerhouses, stopped simultaneously and looked up. The blood-swathed sky split open, torn by a massive portal formed from the endless origin water of the four seas. 10,000 feet of golden carmelite flowed along it, solemn and majestic. Through the portal walked a young man in a plain white robe, hands clasped behind his back. Behind him strode a giant Xuanwu, whose aura was as deep as the sea. Further back marched the Dragon Clan army, neatly arrayed, stern, and disciplined. Each warrior's armor was condensed from water virtue karma. Their restrained qi and clear eyes made them look utterly out of place on this chaotic battlefield. "Dragon Clan?" Luo Hao's pupils instantly contracted, his gaze fixing on Long Chen. "Hongjun's restriction." His voice trailed off. Hongjun's face grew even more sullen. The Four Seas seal he had set, for all that it was his own work, had been broken so easily? And this Dragon Clan Crown Prince's qi, early stage Grand Unity Golden Immortal, how could that be? "Fellow Taoist Hongjun, long time no see. Your bearing is as splendid as ever," Long Chen called, laughing like old friends reuniting. Then, turning toward the master of the devouring qi, he chuckled. "Fellow Taoist Luo Hao, you're doing well too." Everyone, inside and outside the formation, stopped. Luo Hao was the first to react, his voice dark with killing intent. "Little brat of the Dragon Clan, have you come to die?" "To die?" Long Chen shook his head and inspected the immortal slaughtering sword formation with frank admiration. What a formation, truly magnificent, but it was set up hastily with a small flaw. His gaze moved from the swords to Hongjun. The smile never left his face, but his tone carried meaning. "Fellow Taoist Hongjun, you look like you're about to collapse. Do you need help?" Chapter 44, The Key Chess Piece. The Dragon Clan appears. "Need help?" Long Chen's voice was neither loud nor soft, but it made the laws inside and outside the immortal slaughtering sword formation stutter for an instant. Inside the formation, Hongjun and Taoist Yang Mei's faces were uglier than the shattered western lands beneath their feet. Help? That was like kicking someone when they were down. Who did Long Chen think he was? Hongjun, clutching the Pangu banner, was the Tao ancestor who would one day merge with the heavenly Tao and look down on all living beings. He stared at the Dragon Clan crown prince in white standing beyond the formation, and a storm of thoughts rose and fell within his primordial spirit. The Four Seas restrictions had been cast by him personally, so why could this junior so easily bring a vast force through? The young man's cultivation was only at the early stage of Grand Unity Golden Immortal. How long had it been since they last met? And the Dragon Clan behind him, their evil chi seemed gone, their bodies saturated with karma, their eyes clear. Were these still the primordial overlords once driven mad by karma? Impossible questions kept piling up until reality forced acceptance. This chess piece Hongjun thought he'd discarded had jumped off the board and now wanted to be the player. Fellow Taoist Long Chen, let's talk this out, Hongjun said across the sword formation, his voice flat. If you can help break this formation, I will reward you handsomely. Reward? Long Chen smiled. Fellow Taoist, we're both clear-eyed. You and Luo Hao are fighting for the master of the Tao lineage, for ownership of the primordial luck of this world. My Dragon Clan is a small family. We don't seek dominance now, only the chance to survive. He looked Hongjun in the eye and slowly extended a finger. So let's discuss the price. Presumptuous, Luo Hao's roar boomed from inside the formation, laced with surging demonic chi. Hongjun, you would make a deal with a wet-behind-the-ears junior like him? Disgraceful. Long Chen ignored him and kept his gaze fixed on Hongjun, as calm and businesslike as a negotiator. Hongjun's eyelid twitched. He was being extorted by a junior in front of his mortal enemies. But he had no choice. The primordial spirit, true spirits of fellow Taoist Yin and Yang and fellow Taoist Qian Kun had already been erased, no chance even of reincarnation. Relying only on him and Taoist Yang Mei, they were doomed. Speak, he ground out, straightforward. Long Chen's smile widened as if he had been praised. My first condition is simple. He pointed at one of the 4 killing swords suspended within the formation. These 4 swords are excellent. When the formation is broken, my Dragon Clan wants one of them. Anyone will do. You, old ancestor Yang Mei, could not hold back. His willow branch tensed. Little friend, do you know what those are? The 4 swords of Juxian, top-tier innate killing spirit treasures. With the formation diagram, their combined power rivals an innate supreme treasure. You ask for a quarter? Long Chen met him coolly. Otherwise? Does fellow Taoist Yang Mei expect you to die inside while we Dragon Clan clap from outside and walk away with nothing? Old ancestor Yang Mei was left speechless. Long Chen raised a second finger. Second condition. Mount Sumeru, Luo Hao's lair, shall be ownerless after this battle. My Dragon Clan wants half the spirit treasures and spiritual roots on the mountain. Hongjun's face darkened. If the first condition cut flesh, this second one was tearing off the bones. Fellow Taoist Long Chen, the western lands are barren, and Mount Sumeru is soaked in Luo Hao's devilish chi. What could my Dragon Clan possibly want there? Oh, is that so? Long Chen's smile took on a meaning. I heard there's an innate spiritual root on the mountaintop, the 12-grade golden lotus of karma, a companion lotus platform, and a branch of the 7 treasures wonderful tree. Hongjun's pupils narrowed. Taoist Yang Mei stared at him, stunned. None of them had known those secrets. How did this Dragon Clan crown prince? Inside the formation, Luo Hao suddenly laughed, a strange tone of appreciation in it. Long Chen, don't waste time with this hypocrite Hongjun. If you help me kill them, I'll give you all 4 swords of Juxian. Mount Sumeru will be yours. I'll even swear a demonic oath to split the primordial world's luck with your Dragon Clan. How about that? All eyes turned to Long Chen. Hongjun and Taoist Yang Mei felt their chests tighten. Luo Hao's offer was far more generous than Long Chen's demands, yet Long Chen barely glanced at Luo Hao, like a stray dog barking from the roadside. He raised a third finger toward Hongjun and the ruined world. Third condition. His voice grew soft, and every syllable landed like a blow. After this battle, the Western Earth veins will collapse and living beings will be plunged into suffering. Repairing the Earth veins and regulating the spiritual chi is a great karma bestowed by the heavenly Tao. My Dragon Clan wants 70% of that karma. You're dreaming, Hongjun erupted, fury scorching his voice. The first 2 conditions were about spoils. This third attacked his Tao. He was destined to unify with the Tao one day. Karma was more precious to him than any treasure. Long Chen was trying to tear up his foundation. Look at him. This little beast is even greedier than me, Luo Hao called, stoking the fire inside the formation. Long Chen's smile vanished for the first time. Fellow Taoist Hong Jun, haven't you realized? The first sword is the price for my Dragon Clan to act. The second set of treasures compensate my Dragon Clan's warriors. As for the 70% of karma, I don't want it for my clan as charity. We need it. For hundreds of millions of eons, my Dragon Clan has to take in karma to survive. Without that 70%, how can my Dragon Clan wash away the monstrous karma spawned by the Great Tribulation? With your handsome reward? His voice was low, but each word struck true. Inside the immortal slaughtering sword formation, a deadly silence settled. Hong Jun looked at the calm young man outside the formation and finally understood. This junior had not come to haggle. He had come to claim what rightfully belonged to the Dragon Clan. Fellow Taoist Hong Jun, what is your decision? Long Chen asked evenly. I can wait, but can your and fellow Taoist Yang Mei's origins afford to wait? Hong Jun drew a long breath and glanced at Taoist Yang Mei, whose aura had begun to flicker. He had no choice. Fine. His voice was hoarser than ever. This poor Taoist agrees to your terms. He immediately added, but you must prove you can break the formation, not just talk. Of course. Long Chen snapped his fingers and turned to Xuanwu behind him. Fellow Taoist Xuanwu, show these two a thing or two. All right. Xuanwu answered with a muffled roar. The colossal turtle did not charge the formation. Instead, it sank slowly toward the fractured earth. There was no violent impact. Its mountain-sized shell pressed gently against the western continent's earth veins. The next moment, a boundless origin of water from the North Sea, merged with Xuanwu's immeasurable karma from suppressing the Arctic Heavenly Gate, became a thick yellow tide that seeped silently into the earth. The chaotic, collapsing western earth veins, like a wounded beast, quieted as if tamed. The blood-colored glow on the four towering sword gates that anchored the immortal slaughtering sword formation dimmed. Pressure within the formation eased. Hong Jun and Taoist Yang Mei stared, astonished. They had attacked for a long time, the Pangu banner nearly smoking and to little effect. A single old turtle had simply lain down and shaken the formation's foundation. Long Chen's voice floated over, calm and mocking. See? This fellow Taoist of mine is naturally skilled with earth. He's an expert at dealing with formations rooted in the ground. Hong Jun fell silent. He believed him now, and that belief hurt. Such a crucial figure, the very one who could counter the immortal slaughtering sword formation precisely, had been taken by this junior. Long Chen no longer looked at Hong Jun. He turned to the tens of thousands of Dragon Clan behind him, his voice carrying through the sea of consciousness of every warrior. Sons of the Sea Suppression Bureau. Father God transformed into the Eye of the East Sea so we could survive. Qilin and Yuan Phoenix died to leave a sliver of hope for their races. We stand here today not for dominance, not for slaughter. He pointed at the immortal slaughtering sword formation, its air fouled with devilish qi. We are here to end this age of karma and slaughter. 10,000 dragons world purification formation. Rise, roar. Tens of thousands of Dragon Clan roars merged like a purifying flood, temporarily drowning the sword cries within the formation. A blue, great formation, grander even than the immortal slaughtering sword formation, and filled with cleansing vitality, unfurled with Long Chen at its center. Chapter 45. Remove the firewood from under the cauldron and point the sword at the formation map. The moment the 10,000 Dragons World Purification Formation was activated, the sky above the western continent was torn into two realms. On one side hung the blood-red firmament of the immortal slaughtering sword formation, where law withered and everything rushed toward its end. On the other side stretched the azure dome of the Dragon Clan's grand formation, where karma flowed and life fell like spring rain. Two utterly different powers collided at the boundary, grinding and eroding one another until the space between them looked like shattered glazed glass. Inside the formation, Taoist Yang Mei, his Tao body darkened by the erosion of sword qi, felt warmth when the blue light brushed him. His constantly flowing origin slowed noticeably. This is a formation that fuses karmic power with the origin of water? He murmured, surprised. He looked at Hongjun and saw an expression more complicated than his own. Hongjun said nothing. From that blue grand formation, he sensed a trace of a creative aura, the same source as his own creation jade plate. Though faint, its rank was so high it startled him. "What are you standing there for?" Long Chen's voice came from outside the formation, lax and teasing. "Fellow Taoist Hongjun, I've already set the stage. If you, the main actor, don't start, the audience will leave." Those words struck a chord. Hongjun scanned the battlefield. The Dragon Clan's grand formation acted like a giant blue shield, filtering and weakening the destructive sword chi leaking from the immortal slaughtering sword formation. Pressure on him and Taoist Yang Mei had been reduced by some 70%, an opportunity that came once in a lifetime. "Taoist Yang Mei, go all out," Hongjun ordered. He no longer spoke to Long Chen. He acted. He shook the Pangu banner with violent force. Open! A concentrated thread of Chaos Sword Chi, refined to the extreme, turned into a thin gray filament and sliced silently through the void. The blood sea light curtain of the immortal slaughtering sword gate was easily cut open by it, revealing a bottomless wound that would not heal quickly. Good. Taoist Yang Mei was greatly invigorated. He swept his willow branch toward the breach. Space Law flared. The opening was forcibly fixed and widened, preventing the sword formation from self-repairing. "Hongjun, you actually collude with this Dragon Clan Jr." Luo Hao's roar rumbled from the formation diagram's center. "This old ancestor misjudged you." As he roared, the other three sword gates flared, and endless sword chi surged out, converging into three blood-red rivers of slaughtering law that spanned the sky, sweeping toward Hongjun and Taoist Yang Mei. This was not ordinary sword chi. It embodied the law of slaughter. Any living thing caught within it would have its primordial spirit instantaneously annihilated. "Fellow Taoist, it's your turn." Long Chen's voice was still casual. Xuanwu gave a low, muffled growl and stamped its colossal foot. This time the impact was more than suppression. The immeasurable karma accumulated on its shell over billions of years transformed into a golden net that blanketed heaven and earth and sank into the fractured earth veins of the western continent. When the violent, chaotic origin of destruction met that golden karmic net, it was like pouring boiling oil onto snow. Karma represented life and order. The earth vein's evil chi, stirred by Luo Hao, represented death and chaos. When the two met, the earth vein's energy supply was cut off, if only for an instant. But that instant was enough. The three raging, blood-red rivers froze as if someone had pressed a pause button. For experts at Hongjun and Taoist Yang Mei's level, a momentary flaw could decide life or death. Long Chen didn't waste the chance. "Now!" His command pulsed through the sea of consciousness of every Dragon Clan warrior. "Sea Suppression Bureau, heed my order. Draw the true water of the four seas. Take the form of 10,000 dragons. Ignore the sword gates. Target the central formation diagram. Charge! Roar!" Dong led tens of thousands of elite Dragon Clan members in a unified roar. The 10,000 Dragons World Purification Formation ran at full power. Pure true water of the four seas was continuously drawn, condensing in the air into blue water dragons clad in golden karmic armor. These water dragons bore no murderous intent. They were suffused with a holy sense of purification. They formed a mighty host, bypassed the frontal sword gate battlefield, and dove down from the sky straight for the blood-red formation diagram at the heart of the immortal, slaughtering sword formation. "You brat! How dare you!" Luo Hao's fury thundered through heaven and earth. He finally understood. Long Chen had never intended to play by the rules and confront the sword gates head-on. The bastard wanted to flip the table entirely. The formation diagram was the foundation of the grand formation. Once it was damaged, the immortal slaughtering sword formation would collapse. He frantically tried to marshal sword chi to defend the diagram. "Luo Hao, your opponents are us!" Hongjun seized the chance. The Pangu banner wound itself tight around the immortal slaughtering sword as chaos sword chi relentlessly eroded the sword's edge. Taoist Yang Mei's willow branch moved all the more elusive, turning the space around the trapped immortal sword gate into a chaotic mire and briefly severing its connection with the formation diagram. Luo Hao was held fast by the two of them and could only watch as tens of thousands of karmic water dragons struck at his painstaking creation. There was no thunderous explosion. The water dragons crashed onto the blood-red formation diagram, like clean water washing away dirt, purification meeting destruction, canceling one another out. The blood-red glow of the diagram was washed away at a rate visible to the naked eye. As one water dragon evaporated, 10 or 100 more immediately took its place. It was the most irrational, yet incredibly effective tactic. Use endless karma and the origin of water to literally drain the immortal slaughtering formation diagram to death. Bastards! You lot of bastards! Luo Hao's demon body shook with rage. His proudest killing formation was being eroded in the most insulting way. Longchen, this old ancestor wants you dead. Luo Hao went completely mad. Ignoring a heavy strike from the Pangu banner that Hongjun swung from behind, he bore the blow and, bleeding profusely as half his demon body shattered from Chaos Sword Chi, forcibly split off part of his mind. He activated the trap Immortal Sword and the Immortal Extermination Sword, two weapons no one was restraining. Buzz! Two deadly sword lights, condensed from Luo Hao's lifelong Tao of Slaughter, ignored space and time and shot straight for Long Chen outside the formation. If Long Chen died, everything would be resolved. Good timing. Long Chen looked at the two deadly sword lights without a hint of panic. He stretched out his hand. 12 azure sea-stabilizing divine pearls slowly appeared before him in a row. Behind him, the phantom of a minor thousand worlds quietly unfolded. Within that world, another 12 phantom divine pearls, condensed from his Tao Law, shimmered in harmony with the physical pearls. The 24 divine pearls instantly formed a perfect spherical space that enveloped him completely. In my world, the rules are set by me, Long Chen said softly. The two deadly sword lights entered the spherical space and, as if trapped in amber, were forced into stillness by the law of that world. The law of slaughter that clung to them, the power that could annihilate everything, was stripped and suppressed by a higher-level law of creation. The two terrifying sword lights that once felled top-tier experts now floated quietly before Long Chen, their radiance completely subdued, as docile as exhibits. A deathly silence fell over the entire battlefield. Inside the formation, Hongjun's Pangu banner hung motionless in midair. Taoist Yang Mei's willow branch froze in his hand. Bare-handed. Caught the immortal slaughtering sword light? Taoist Yang Mei's voice was dry and incredulous. No, Hongjun said, staring at the spherical space. That's not bare-handed. Luo Hao was thunderstruck. His final all-out strike, launched at the cost of grievous injury, had been reduced to a backdrop for the other party's display of power. How was that possible? He was a Grand Unity Golden Immortal. By what right? It's my turn. Long Chen ignored the stunned crowd and flicked his finger. A true sea-stabilizing divine pearl slipped out from the spherical space formed by the 24 pearls. It made no sound and caused no ripple of magical power. It simply became an inconspicuous streak of light and drifted toward the immortal extermination sword gate, which had been left unattended in Luo Hao's distraction. Chapter 46. The formation is broken. The sea-stabilizing pearl suppresses Zhuxian. The sea-stabilizing divine pearl moved without haste. In fact, it drifted forward almost lazily as it angled toward the immortal trap sword gate. There was no visible fluctuation of magical power around the pearl, no trace of killing intent. Luo Hao howled and reached to mobilize the sword formation's origin, but Hongjun's Pangu banner held him fast. The Chaos Sword Chi that had torn open heaven and earth was steadily eroding the origin of his demonic body. All Luo Hao could do was watch the little pearl strike the gate. A soft, ancient chime sounded, like a bell kissed by a breeze. Time and space seemed to harden. The towering sword gate, a construct of endless killing intent, and the enormous trap immortal sword suspended above it stilled in midair. The surging, blood-red sword chi froze like bas-relief. The destructive radiance of the blade set like light in amber. The entire sword gate and the countless miles of space, time, and law around it were forcibly fixed by that tiny pearl. One of the 4 gates of the immortal slaughtering sword formation had been halted. An irreparable gap opened in the formation's endless cycle of killing. Luo Hao's body shuddered violently. A mouthful of purplish-black demonic blood erupted, burning a large hole in the void realm before him. The great formation was tied to his mind. With one gate broken, a corner of his Tao foundation cracked. Good opportunity. Hongjun's eyes flashed. This was the moment he had been waiting for. "Taoist Yang Mei, help me slay the demon," he cried. The Pangu banner in his hand swelled against the wind, all of its power concentrating on the axe blade. There was no booming, world-shattering momentum, only a razor-thin gray line of condensed force slitting silently toward Luo Hao's head. Old Ancestor Yang Mei reacted instantly. He flicked the willow branch in his hand, and millions upon millions of spatial laws unfolded into invisible chains, layer upon layer, sealing off every avenue of escape for Luo Hao. "Ah, Hongjun, Long Chen!" Luo Hao roared, venom and unwillingness thick in his voice. "Even if this old ancestor dies, I will drag this primordial world into the demonic path forever." He intended to detonate the origin of his demonic body and bury the world with him. But the Taiji diagram Hongjun had woven had already transformed into a golden bridge that spanned heaven and earth, pressing down from the sky and crushing his violent power. The thin gray blade sliced through without a sound. Luo Hao's roar snapped off mid-scream. The notorious demonic old ancestor, who had tormented the whole primordial world, didn't even let out a final grunt. His immense demonic body and his immortal primordial spirit were ground into oblivion by the Pangu banner's creative force, erased from the most fundamental layers of being. Only the rawest shred of demonic path origin dissipated. A generation's demonic old ancestor had fallen. As Luo Hao died, the four blood-red pillars that supported heaven and earth began to crumble, inch by inch. The immortal slaughtering sword formation screamed in protest and collapsed with a thunderous rumble. The immortal slaughtering sword, the immortal slaying sword, the trap immortal sword, and the shredded formation diagram, all condensed into four streams of light and attempted to tear through the void realm in different directions. "Where do you think you're going?" Hongjun had anticipated this. With a single sleeve movement, the Taiji diagram unfurled and swallowed the formation diagram and the immortal slaughtering sword, the one carrying the strongest killing intent. Old Ancestor Yang Mei moved with equal speed, activating his spatial divine ability to turn the space around the immortal slaying sword into a cage and trap it. The remaining trap immortal sword streaked directly toward Long Chen, as if deciding its new master amid the chaos. "Your Highness," Ao Dong shouted from behind. Long Chen reached out. As the trap immortal sword slammed into an invisible barrier, the power of the 24 heavens worlds restrained it with ease. It obediently fell into his palm while still quivering, clearly reluctant. "According to our agreement, fellow Taoist Hongjun," Long Chen said, lifting the heavy sword to Hongjun after he'd sheathed his spirit treasure, "this sword belongs to my dragon clan." Hongjun's hand hesitated as he stowed the Taiji diagram. He looked to Long Chen, to the sword in his grasp, then at the sword and diagram still aligned with his own, and considered the fallen yin and yang, Qian Kun, and his depleted origin. Frustration churned in his chest. He had technically won the battle, yet he felt the loss deep in his bones. Long Chen ignored his rival's mood and focused on the trap immortal sword still subdued by the sea-stabilizing divine pearl. He opened his hand and reclaimed the pearl. The sword snapped free, shrieked, and streaked away in a flash of bloody light. Long Chen snatched it back with a backhand. The 24 heavens world's power wove another net. The trap immortal sword darted left and right, but was ultimately yanked inescapably back into Long Chen's other hand. Two ferocious swords in his grasp, a wider smile split his face. "Young friend Long Chen." Old Ancestor Yang Mei stepped forward, frowning. "Our prior agreement was for only one sword. Was it?" Long Chen lifted both blades with an innocent tilt of expression and indicated the dissipated sword gate off in the distance. "Fellow Taoist Yang Mei, we must be reasonable. That trap immortal sword gate was shattered by tens of thousands of my dragon clan's young people using the 10,000 Dragons World Purification Formation. They sacrificed boundless karma and the origin of the Four Seas to break its formation diagram foundation," Yang Mei said. Long Chen paused, then spoke earnestly. "That counts as a gate broken by my dragon clan's blood and toil. Taking a trap immortal sword is fair, isn't it?" He lifted the left-hand sword. "And this trap immortal sword gate was personally sealed by me with my companion's spirit treasure. That counts as the second gate I shattered with my own strength." He spread his hands and fixed both Yang Mei and Hongjun with a conspiratorial look. 2 gates broken, 2 swords taken. That math seems straightforward, doesn't it? Yang Mei was rendered speechless, his face flushed beet red. The logic was outrageous, but undeniably correct. Hongjun's eye twitched at the sight of the 2 ancient, murderous swords in Long Chen's hands, then at the single swords he and Yang Mei held. Bitter resentment rose up in him. If the 4 swords of Zhuxian were not gathered to form the Great Formation, their power was greatly reduced. Now the 4 swords were split between 3 parties. The greatest killing formation of the primordial world was effectively gone. Hongjun coughed to divert attention. He didn't want to dwell on it. Fellow Taoist Long Chen, with matters here concluded, though Luo Hao is dead, the western land vein. Before he finished, the motionless Xuanwu on the ground emitted a low, urgent growl. Your Highness, something's wrong. Its voice rang directly in Long Chen's sea of consciousness. Something beneath the earth has awakened. At the same moment, the entire western continent began to quake, but not with the exhausted tremor of battle. This was a convulsion from the planet's deepest root. Bottomless fissures crawled across the dead land like centipedes. From the depths rose a muffled roar that made even the primordial spirits present shudder. Then a wave of devilish qi, 100 times more terrifying and purer than the surge from the immortal slaughtering sword formation, mixed with the shattered origin of the earth veins and exploded skyward from the cracks. The aura was venomous, insane, intent on destruction. Not good. Hongjun's face drained of color. The composed Tao ancestor demeanor vanished. It's Luo Hao's contingency. Before he died, he used his final demonic origin as a trigger to detonate the entire western ancestral vein. Yang Mei's voice tightened. His willow branch twitched, sending restless laws into the air. Detonate the ancestral vein? Is he mad? He's not mad, Long Chen said quietly, watching the devilish qi rise. His voice was calm until it cut cold. He intends to bury the whole primordial world with him. Chapter 47. The prince has done a great deed to protect the Western Meridian. The Western ancestral vein's self-detonation was no metaphor. It was reality. The ground across the entire Western continent swelled from its core and then collapsed. Bottomless, pitch-black fissures ripped open like wounds across the dying land. Boom. Not thunder, but dragon bones deep beneath the earth cracking centimeter by centimeter. From every fissure, a destructive devilish qi, more terrifying than Rahu's might at its peak, mixed with the shattered earth vein's origin and shot into the sky. Oh no! Hongjun's face drained of all color. The composure expected of a future Tao ancestor vanished. He flung the G diagram into the air. The scroll unfurled into a yin-yang golden bridge spanning heaven and earth. Yin and yang qi flowed across it, carrying the suppressive Tao charm that tried to pin down the fiercest of the erupting earth vein fissures. Crack! The golden bridge groaned under unbearable strain as soon as it landed. The Tao runes engraved on it spiderwebbed with cracks. Old ancestor Yang Mei wouldn't hold back either. He manifested his true form as a hollow willow. Colossal divine trees, tens of thousands of feet tall, rooted into the broken earth. Countless willow branches dangled like chains of order and wove layers of spatial barriers, attempting to confine the destructive power to a corner. It was useless. This was Rahu's sacrifice to the Tao, igniting the malevolent and evil qi accumulated over untold eons across the western continent. Rip! Yang Mei's spatial barriers shredded like paper seared by a branding iron. The Tao bodies of Hongjun and Yang Mei flickered, their magic poured out like water through an open sluice. They could not stop it. It's over. It's over. This has gotten out of hand. The Xuanwu's massive head withdrew into its shell. Even its heavy carapace trembled. It sent a secret message to Long Chen. Your Highness, this place is no longer safe. Shall we leave first? As long as the Green Mountains remain, there will be no shortage of firewood. Leave? Long Chen shook his head, gaze steady on the 2 primordial world great experts, floundering in the destructive storm. If we leave now, the whole show we put on will have been for nothing. Fellow Taoist Hongjun, he called out, calm. It seems you need help again. Hongjun, who was pouring all his force into the Taiji diagram, felt blood rush in his chest. His face blackened. Fellow Taoist Long Chen, he ground out. If you have any plan, act now. Long Chen smiled faintly and pointed at the expanding fissure. Fellow Taoist, You see, the more damage this earth vein suffers, the more heavenly Tao karma it will cost to repair it, and the less reward the heavenly Tao will bestow. Hongjun choked as if about to vomit blood. This was the same as telling him, pay more, or everyone dies. He shot a look at Yang Mei and at the destructive devilish qi devouring heaven and earth. Humiliation welled up. He, Hongjun, orthodox successor of Pangu, future Tao ancestor, had been manipulated by a younger scion of the Dragon Clan. This poor Taoist will add another 10%, he roared. Afterward, the Dragon Clan will exclusively receive 80% of all karma for repairing the earth veins. 80% to the Dragon Clan, and he and Yang Mei would share the remaining 20. Long Chen's lips curved into the pleased expression he'd been waiting for. He turned to the Dragon Clan, arrayed behind him. His voice rang out like an imperial edict through the clouds. Sea Suppression Bureau, heed my command. This is the Dragon Clan's best chance to declare ourselves before the heavenly Tao and establish our footing in the primordial world. In the name of the Dragon Clan, draw the waters of the four seas, cleanse the devilish qi, pacify the earth fire, and suppress the earth veins. Roar. Tens of thousands of Dragon Clan warriors roared. They abandoned human guise and revealed their true dragon bodies, hundreds to thousands of feet long. Scales shimmered and horns towered. They plunged into the erupting fissures that spewed destructive qi like torrents. They did not use their tough bodies to block the fissures. Instead, they transformed their purest water origin into countless gentle streams and poured that water into the depths of the earth, like a mother soothing her child's wound. Sizzle, black devilish qi met blue water, and steam rose as the water washed the filth away. The rampaging fire element within the earth veins gradually calmed under the water's soothing power. Fellow Taoist Xuanwu, Long Chen's gaze shifted to the giant ancient turtle. Leave it to me. Xuanwu understood and sensed the benefits. With an earth-shattering roar, it committed. Its mountain-like body slammed onto the largest fissure, the one the Taiji diagram had only partially contained. Boom! The western continent seemed to sink with it, as if a pillar of heaven had collapsed. Xuanwu used itself as the formation eye, mobilizing the luck accrued from its eons of suppressing the North Sea, and swore solemnly to the azure sky, I am Xuanwu, the sacred beast of the North. By the order of the Dragon Clan Crown Prince, I will use my body to permanently suppress this place. Until the demonic aura dissipates, I swear not to leave. The effect was immediate. The most violent eruptive force was curbed by 70 to 80%. Hongjun and Yang Mei felt relief wash over them. They exchanged looks at the massive turtle pinning the earth vein and at the strange company the Dragon Clan Crown Prince had gathered. Before they could fully react, Long Chen moved again. He opened his palms. The trap immortal sword and the annihilating immortal sword hummed in his hands, radiating a ferocious hunger. Ferocious weapons, forged for slaughter, belong to the demonic path, Long Chen said softly. But used to suppress ferocity and evil, they become supreme karma. He flicked his wrist. The two peerless swords became streaks of bloody light. They did not fly up. Instead, he hurled them with impossible precision into the earth, driving them into the two most violent, unstable energy nodes of the earth veins. Killing to suppress killing, using the four swords of Zhuxian's killing origin to counteract the destructive origin of the vein's self-detonation. It was audacious, insane, and brilliant. Hongjun and Yang Mei's eyes twitched. But Long Chen's strike was exact. The unstable nodes were pinned by the supreme killing Tao principles within the blades. The Western ancestral vein's self-detonation was completely snuffed out. The rolling tribulation clouds lost their source and slowly dispersed. A long-forgotten warm ray of sunlight pierced the clouds and fell upon the land that had survived. At that moment, the heavenly Tao responded. A golden cloud of karma, larger and more brilliant than any before, gathered above the 9 heavens. It spread vast as half the primordial world, radiating boundless light. The cloud descended and split. 2/10 of it condensed into 2 small golden lights and fell into Hongjun and Yang Mei, slowly repairing the depletion of their origins. Repair, but not abundance. The remaining 8/10 became a vast golden rain that poured over Long Chen, Xuanwu, and every Dragon Clan warrior who had participated in the suppression. So comfortable. A Dragon Clan centurion basked in the karma's light. One of his horns, severed in a previous battle, regrew visibly and shimmered with golden warmth. His aura surged, leaping from early-stage golden immortal to middle stage in one breath. Tens of thousands of Dragon Clan warriors experienced the same miracle. Scales under the golden light were imprinted with faint Tao karma patterns, making them nigh indestructible. Their dragon blood ran purer, surging with renewed life. The entire Dragon Clan army underwent a collective rebirth under that golden rain. Longchen and Xuanwu were the greatest beneficiaries. Both were wrapped in the purest, most concentrated golden light, forming two immense golden cocoons. Xuanwu felt its ancient Tao injury, the one that had barred its advancement for eons, being repaired. Its cultivation did not explode, but its foundation and essence reached an incredible sublimation. Longchen closed his eyes. The grand unity Tao fruit he had just attained was repeatedly refined and polished by this immense karma until flawless and fully integrated. His realm remained at the peak of grand unity, golden immortal, perfection. It was the supreme level attainable in this era, before Hongjun might one day blaze a new path. His physical body was reshaped by the golden light into a perfect karma treasure body, immune to magic and repellent to evil. Hongjun and Yangmei stood aside, watching the Dragon Clan bathed in 80% of the golden karma and the two dazzling cocoons of light. Old ancestor Yangmei's mouth twitched into a long sigh. Hongjun stood with his hands behind his back, knuckles trembling in the sleeves of his robe. He had plotted for eons, allied with countless great experts, fought Rahu to the death, lost yin and yang, sacrificed Qianxia, wounded his own origin, and even lost the dignity due a future Tao ancestor. In the end, the karma he received was less than the scraps left over by others. How just was the heavenly Tao, and how unjust? Chapter 48. The Dragon Clan will rule the world forever, and the way of heaven recognizes it. The golden rain of karma finally ceased. The last wisp of profound yellow light seeped into the cracks of the dragon scales like an imprint. The western continent lay eerily silent. Bottomless rifts scarred the land. Spiritual chi had been drained away, leaving only stubborn rock and scorched earth. But the devilish chi that had made all things wither at last dissipated. Tens of thousands of Dragon Clan warriors stood motionless, their scales coated with a faint wash of profound yellow divine light. This was the beginning of a karma treasure body, impervious to all laws. Their auras had more than doubled since they had arrived, and their collective dragon might converged, freezing this broken world in place. Your Highness. An elder of the Dragon Clan, missing a claw in the earlier battle, stared at the newly grown talon. The claw no longer gleamed green, but shone with warm, profound yellow light, with intricate water Tao patterns naturally tracing themselves along it. The ancient dragon, who had lived through countless eons, choked up. He suddenly dropped to one knee, his massive head bowing until his forehead touched the charred ground. We thank your Highness for the grace of rebirth. That genuflection was like lighting a fuse. Tens of thousands of Dragon Clan members, all facing Longchen, dropped to one knee in unison. The clash of their armor sounded like a mountain collapsing, resonating across the silent wasteland. It was not an order. It was the most primitive, most fervent submission, born from the depths of their bloodline. It was the crown prince who had pulled them from the shadow of the Dragonhan calamity, who had washed away boundless sins. It was the crown prince who, by his battle merits and karma, had reclaimed the Dragon Clan's dignity on this ruin. All of you, rise. Longchen raised a hand. His voice was calm, but carried across the battlefield. He did not linger on the jubilant clan members, nor did he regard Hongjun and Yangmei, who stood nearby with complex expressions. He lifted his head and looked toward the nine heavens. The sky was empty yet overwhelming. The performance was over. The price had been negotiated. It was time for business. Longchen's figure blurred and then reappeared above the nine heavens, standing shoulder to shoulder with Hongjun and Yangmei. In his hand he held an ancient seal, the 10,000 Dragons seal. As soon as it appeared, the luck of the 10,000 Dragon Clan members below resonated with it. Your Highness, what is he going to do? Aodong and several other elders watched him with confusion. The great battle was over, and the karma had been gained. What did it mean to produce the clan's luck seal now? Hongjun and Yangmei frowned as well. The crown prince had just taken a heavy price from them. What else did he want? Long Chen did not explain. He channeled his magic power and spoke, his voice resonating through the great Tao and spreading across the primordial world. Heavenly Tao above. His shout was like a giant rock thrown into a placid lake. Kunlun Mountain, Mount Yujing, Mount Buzhou, countless beings who had somehow survived the calamity felt their divine souls tremble and turned their gazes toward the western sky. Hongjun's eyelids twitched. A terrible premonition rose in him. Long Chen's voice continued, solemn and decisive. Today, the Dragon Han calamity is ended, and all things lie desolate. We, the Dragon Clan, as former overlords, by our ambition for dominance wrought boundless slaughter in the primordial world. Our sins are profound. The Dragon Clan warriors who had just been swept by ecstasy erupted in bewildered protest. Your Highness, why say such a thing? A young centurion, face flushed, shouted, Our clan pacified the Tao and demons. Our merits cover the primordial world. What sin do we have? Right, our Dragon Clan is innocent. Your Highness, please reconsider. The young dragons were full of vigor. They could not understand why, after such a glorious victory, their crown prince would confess their sins before the whole primordial world. Presumptuous. Aodong spun his head, and the pressure of the grand unity golden immortal broke loose, forcibly suppressing the agitated voices. He glared at the confused youngsters. His voice was hoarse as he growled, Is the crown prince's decision something you can question? The elders quelled the commotion, equally baffled, but forced to trust the crown prince. Above the high heavens, Long Chen's voice didn't pause. It grew even louder. To atone for the sins of our clan and to return peace to the primordial world, he declared, I, Long Chen, Crown Prince of the Dragon Clan, hereby swear by the future luck of the Dragon Clan. Each word fell like a divine mountain on the hearts of all living things. From this day forward, our Dragon Clan shall never set foot on the primordial continent. We shall never participate in the struggle for heavenly and earthly hegemony. Those two sentences struck Hongjun like twin bolts of chaos thunder. His calm Tao heart experienced violent turbulence for the first time. The Dragon Clan, retreat? Before he could think further, Long Chen's oath that would decide his clan's future continued. Our Dragon Clan is willing to forever guard the four seas, manage the world's water veins, regulate wind and rain, and quell great waves, ensuring favorable weather on the primordial continent and ending worries of floods. This oath, heaven and earth bear witness. Heavenly Tao, please approve. As the last word fell, Long Chen raised the 10,000 dragon seal high toward the sky. The primordial world fell into unprecedented silence. Those who had been gloating over the Dragon Clan's self-confession felt a chill run from souls to crown. Had they heard correctly? That arrogant race that had ruled for eons was voluntarily abandoning continental hegemony? And they were taking on the arduous task of tending water veins and regulating wind and rain? Hongjun's pupils constricted to pinpricks. He had schemed for eons, setting plans in motion for the three races, undermining yin and yang and qiankun, even injuring his own origin, all to clear those old overlords from history's stage and pave the way for his future Xuanmen. He had not expected the Dragon Clan to retreat so decisively, so utterly. They retreated in a way that left him no grounds to refuse, so resolute that even the heavenly Tao could not deny them. Guarding the four seas forever, managing the water veins, what an enormous task, and what immeasurable karma. This was compensation for the future order of the entire primordial world. Would the heavenly Tao refuse? No. Boom. Above the nine heavens, a muffled thunder rolled. This thunder carried not majesty but recognition and approval. A profound yellow light, older and more sacred than all the golden lights of karma combined, broke through the clouds and descended from the ethereal realm. It was not karma, but the manifest authority of the heavenly Tao itself. The profound yellow light did not fall on Long Chen. It poured directly into the 10,000 dragon seal held aloft. Buzz, the seal emitted a high-pitched dragon roar. That sound was no longer a mere dragon's cry, but a chorus of the four seas waves, the rush of rivers, the rhythm of 1,000 water veins. Under the wash of the profound yellow chi, the seal's material changed fundamentally. It was no longer merely a treasure of luck. It transformed into a divine artifact condensed from the laws of the primordial world's water veins. On its face, water-vein Tao patterns naturally appeared, outlining the network of the four seas and eight desolations, the rivers and lakes. The old three characters for 10,000 Dragon Seal faded and were replaced by four grand characters personally impressed by the heavenly Tao's law, orthodox of the four seas. From that moment, the Dragon Clan was no longer a race of earthly contention. They were the righteous lords of the four seas, personally enfiofed by the heavenly Tao. Their fate was bound to the luck of the primordial four seas. As long as the four seas did not dry up, the Dragon Clan would not perish. This. Old ancestor Yang Mei stared at the seal's supreme majesty, his mouth opening and closing before turning into a long sigh. He shook his head and glanced at Hongjun with an almost pitying look. Hongjun's Taoist robe moved, though there was no wind. Beneath his wide sleeves, his hands were clenched so tightly his knuckles showed. The Trap Immortal Sword, the Executing Immortal Sword, 80% Karma, Rahu's treasure trove, they had all been prices on the table. Bait. The true goal of the Dragon Clan Crown Prince from start to finish had been only one, using the immense karma of pacifying the Tao and demons to, before the heavenly Tao, retreat as an advance, to exchange for the Dragon Clan a sacred status that no one could shake and no one would dare to challenge. Short-term gains were small. Securing a foundation for 10,000 generations was grandeur itself. What a Longchen. What a crown prince who used heaven and earth as a chessboard and Tao ancestors as chess pieces. Fellow Taoist Longchen, Hongjun finally said, his voice stripped of emotion and sounding as if the words were squeezed from between his teeth. What a scheme. Longchen took back the transformed seal. The artifact was warm, connected to his bloodline. He looked at Hongjun and asked calmly, Fellow Taoist, what do you think I schemed? Hongjun felt as if something blocked his chest. What could he say? Deny that the Dragon Clan should forever guard the four seas? Deny that they should manage the primordial world's water veins? Any doubt would fly in the face of the heavenly Tao's will. He could only swallow the bitterness. This humble Taoist did not expect the Dragon Clan would be so magnanimous, willing to relinquish continental hegemony and benefit the myriad spirits of the primordial world. Hongjun said, each word forced. It's not magnanimity, Longchen replied with a smile that felt particularly cruel to Hongjun. It's simply finding a place for our Dragon Clan to settle. He paused, his gaze sweeping the broken western continent before returning to Hongjun, his tone sincere. After all, this primordial continent will be fellow Taoists from now on. Our Dragon Clan is weakened, we cannot contend, so naturally we must find another way out. The corner of Hongjun's eye twitched uncontrollably. The continent he had won was a ruin. The Dragon Clan, retreating to the four seas, had become the orthodox, eternally fixed, and fiofed by the heavenly Tao. He realized Rahu's death had not been an injustice. Indeed, he was worse off than Rahu. Rahu had been beaten by a combined force of stronger opponents. Hongjun had been outmaneuvered by a junior. Dragon Clan warriors. Longchen no longer paid attention to the ashen-faced Hongjun. He turned to the tens of thousands of clan members below, who had recovered from shock and now overflowed with exultation. He raised the orthodox of the Four Seas seal and laughed loudly. Follow me home. Roar! The long-contained ecstasy erupted. The earth-shattering cheers dispersed the last death chi from the western continent. Home! Home! Tens of thousands of true dragons, surrounding their crown prince, became a blue torrent across the sky, heading for the East Sea without looking back, mighty and grand. Where their dragon might pass, clouds churned. Only a scarred western continent remained. Hongjun Dao ancestor stood with his hands behind his back, silent for a long time. Chapter 49. The Dragon Clan is a god, ruling the world. East Sea, Crystal Palace. The salty sea air, fused with an incredibly dense water-origin spiritual chi, assaulted him. When the army, whose dragon scales shimmered with deep golden light, returned, the entire East Sea fell silent. In the 10,000-meter deep trench, ancient beasts that had been slumbering opened their eyes and slowly lowered their heads. Countless shrimp soldiers, crab generals, and sea spirit monsters swam out from their immortal caves, looking up at the returning royal army and prostrating themselves, trembling. Inside the coiling dragon hall, Candle Dragon and Ao Dong, leading all the high-ranking officials who had remained, stood solemnly. They watched tens of thousands of clansmen, each with an aura more than twice as strong as when they had set out, finally converge their gazes on Long Chen, who stood at the forefront. On Candle Dragon's weathered face, etched with countless lines, his muscles twitched uncontrollably. "Your Highness." "Welcome back in triumph, Your Highness." With Candle Dragon leading, all the Dragon Clan high-ranking officials knelt on one knee in unison. The clash of armor merged into a single thunderous sound. "All of you, rise." Long Chen raised his hand. His voice was calm. "Victory is a joyful thing." That single sentence dispelled the gloom that had gathered for countless Yuanhui within the hall. "Elder Aodong, your subordinate is here." Aodong stepped forward, his voice like a great bell. "Rahu's treasure vault." Long Chen tossed up a storage dragon pearl. "You will personally handle this. The compensation for the fallen clansmen will be 3 times the highest standard of our dragon clan. Their blood relatives and descendants must forever live in the glory of our dragon clan. The remainder will be distributed among all participating generals and soldiers according to merit." Long Chen looked at Aodong and added, "Only if there is anything left after distribution may it enter the public treasury." "Your Highness." Aodong's hand trembled as he held the dragon pearl. His divine thought probed inside, and his entire body froze, breath halted. The mountain of innate materials and spirit treasures piled within dazzled his divine thought and caused a searing pain. He looked up, voice hoarse. "The reward is too generous. This is almost all of Rahu's possessions. Your subordinate. There is no generosity or meanness, only fairness." Long Chen interrupted. "Let them know that if they spill blood for the Dragon Clan will not treat them unfairly. Let the dead rest in peace, and the living raise their heads with pride. This is the new rule of our Dragon Clan. Your subordinate obeys." Aodong knelt heavily on one knee, forehead touching the cold stone. His bow was for the tens of thousands of soldiers, and even more so for the heroic souls who had fallen in battle. Long Chen then looked at Candle Dragon. "Elder Candle Dragon, your old subject is here." Long Chen flicked his fingers, and 2 ancient swords with restrained killing intent appeared out of thin air. The blades were dim, yet even the Grand Unity Golden Immortals in the hall instinctively felt a surge of dread. "Trap Immortal Sword, Severing Immortal Sword." He proffered the 2 swords. The Western ancestral vein was suppressed by fellow Taoist Xuanwu, turning that land into a place of karma that naturally repels fierce weapons. So these 2 swords were returned. Candle Dragon's eyelids twitched, but he did not immediately take them. "Your Highness, these swords are ferocious. They carry too much killing karma. If placed where the ancestral dragon rests, I fear. Precisely because of their ferocity, they require the ancestral dragon's might to suppress them." Long Chen's tone left no room for doubt. "They will also serve as a warning for future generations about the consequences of contending for supremacy over heaven and earth. These swords are spoils of war, and more importantly, a monument." Candle Dragon's cloudy old eyes brightened. He bowed and solemnly accepted the 2 swords. "Your old subject obeys." Having settled these matters, Long Chen's gaze swept over the high officials assembled in the hall. Ao Nan, Dragon Lord of the South Sea, hot-tempered and unrestrained, stepped forward and boomed. "Your Highness, your subordinate has one thing unclear. Our clan pacified the Tao and demon. Our karma covers the great desolation. Why must we admit our sins before the heavenly Tao and even abandon the continent?" The question voiced the thoughts of many in the Dragon Clan. The air in the great hall hardened. "Abandon," Long Chen smiled. "Ao Nan, tell me, what did we abandon?" "We abandoned the great desolation continent, our former foundation," Ao Nan demanded anxiously. "Our foundation," Long Chen's voice remained calm. "A wasteland with depleted spiritual qi, shattered earth veins, destined to be a forbidden zone for living beings for countless Yuanhui in the future. Does that count as a foundation?" He fixed Ao Nan with his gaze. "Or do you think Hongjun will stand by and watch us reclaim that continent?" Ao Nan was momentarily speechless. Ao Bei, Dragon Lord of the North Sea, usually steady, also stepped forward and bowed. "Your Highness, we understand abandoning the wasteland, but to publicly admit our sins across the great desolation, where is the dignity of the Dragon Clan? How will our clansmen ever hold their heads high?" "Dignity?" Long Chen's voice rose. A defeated overlord clinging to the pity of the victor. Do you call that dignity? I am not admitting sin. I am settling karma, he continued. With a single harmless sentence, I severed all sins and punishments related to our clan from the Dragonhan calamity. We judged ourselves, without waiting for Hongjun, without waiting for the heavenly Tao to condemn us. From now on, the sins of the Dragonhan calamity will no longer be linked to our clan. I didn't give up anything. I traded. I used a wasteland that was never truly ours and a promise no one would believe to gain this. Long Chen walked to the ancestral dragon throne in the center of the hall and gently placed the transformed imperial seal upon it. Buzz, the four heavenly Tao characters that read Orthodoxy of the Four Seas, suddenly flared to life. A vast pressure, born from the origin of the Four Seas, swept through the East Sea, centered on the coiling dragon hall. Every Dragon Clan member in the hall felt their bloodlines surge. Ao Shi, Dragon Lord of the West Sea, suddenly widened his eyes. He felt his primordial spirit transcend space and merge with the entire West Sea. Every ocean current became his bloodline, every sea mountain his bone. With a thought, the seawater beyond the hall toward the West Sea inexplicably churned into 10,000-foot-high towering waves. This, the authority of the West Sea. Ao Shi's voice trembled. It obeys my command. Ao Nan and Ao Bei wore expressions of the same stunned ecstasy. They had, at that moment, established a god and domain connection with their respective sea territories. From now on, our dragon clan will no longer be overlords contending with the heavens for destiny. Long Chen's voice rang like a heavenly edict in the divine souls of every high-ranking dragon clan official. We are gods, governing on behalf of the heavens, wielding the authority of the four seas. Overlords will fall, dynasties will turn to dust. But so long as the four seas do not dry up, our dragon clan will share the lifespan of this great desolation heaven and earth. Gods. The assembled leaders savored the word, their eyes shining with an unprecedented light. They finally understood contention for supremacy is temporary, divine authority is eternal. We were ignorant. They prostrated themselves, 5 limbs touching the ground, utterly convinced. All right, you may disperse. Long Chen waved his hand. Spread the order. Celebration feasts will last 3 months. Let all the aquatic races within the four seas share in our dragon clan's joy. The crowd dispersed, leaving Long Chen alone in the coiling dragon hall. He sat cross-legged and closed his eyes. His grand unity golden immortal perfection and his karma Dao body began to merge under his control. In his mind, using the orthodoxy of the Four Seas seal as a conduit, he wove an invisible giant net that covered the four seas of the great desolation. He no longer sat idly. He was fulfilling a divine role. When chaotic undercurrents arose in the East Sea, he used the power of his authority to right them. When a volcano in the South Sea threatened to erupt, he drew deep-sea cold springs to quench it. When residual devilish qi lingered in the West Sea, he mobilized golden karma light to purify it. He calmed ocean currents and soothed volcanoes. His Tao advanced rapidly through the hands-on experience of managing the world's water veins. 30,000 years passed in the blink of an eye. On this day, Long Chen opened his eyes. His entire aura was now restrained, deep as an abyss, like the sea itself. The entire water vein network of the four seas lay in his divine thought like lines on his palm. He was the center of that net. Through it, he could sense the pulse of the entire Great Desolation continent. He felt the continent's spiritual qi frantically converging in 2 places. One was Mount Buzhou, where 12 terrifying auras were gestating amid a surge of turbid evil qi. The other was East Kunlun, where 3 powerful auras were transforming amid clear immortal qi. The Dragon Han has ended. The witch and the demon will rise. A new era is about to begin. Long Chen stood, stretched, joints quietly cracking. That old fellow Hongjun is probably about to become a saint. Before that, I should go out and make some moves. He took a step, and his figure vanished from the coiling dragon hall. He did not head to Kunlun or Mount Buzhou. He was going to meet a few future old neighbors. Chapter 50. At the foot of Mount Buzhou, I first met the ancestral witch. Long Chen rose, his plain white robe stirring though there was no breeze. With a single step, he left the crystal palace and appeared on the shores of the East Sea. The sun was warm and the sea breeze smelled of salt. 30,000 years of recuperation had smoothed away the calamitous chi and desolation. A new era had long since taken root. Your Highness, Prime Minister Turtle's figure materialized behind him, the old face etched with worry. He bowed and presented a jade slip fashioned from deep-sea profound jade. This is the continental intelligence compiled by the Sea Suppression Bureau over the past 30,000 years. His voice was low. The Wu and Yao races have already established their domains, carving up the land. Especially the Wu race, entrenched at Mount Buzhou. Their temperaments are violent. They don't cultivate the primordial spirit, only the physical body, and their divine abilities and Tao laws are fundamentally incompatible with us, the water race. Longchen took the jade slip and let his divine thought plunge into it. The vast sea of intelligence flowed through him in an instant. The Wu race, descendants of Pangu's bloodline, regarded themselves as the rightful rulers of the land. The Yao race, a union of myriad spirits and plants, sought to emulate the ancient heavenly court. The chessboard had rearranged itself. "Let's go. I want to see Mount Buzhou," Long Chen said, his tone level. "Go to Mount Buzhou?" Prime Minister Turtle's aged eyelids twitched violently. "Your Highness, please reconsider. Those barbarians of the Wu race refuse to cultivate the primordial spirit. They don't revere heaven and earth, only Pangu and their own fists. They hold no goodwill toward us, the former overlords of the Dragonhan calamity. If we go there, precisely because of that, we must go." Long Chen's gaze pierced space toward the center of the continent. "Whether the new neighbors are friends or foes, we must see them and make our position clear." Before his words finished, his figure blurred into a faint golden stream of light and shot toward the continent. Prime Minister Turtle stamped his foot and, after a moment of heavy hesitation, transformed into a profound light to follow anxiously. The closer they drew to Mount Buzhou, the denser the pressure in the world became. It was not a formation or magical power, but an oppression that sprang from the essence of life itself, the heaven-supporting pillar formed by Pangu's spine. The residue of that will made anyone who cultivated the primordial spirit feel a stabbing pain deep within their divine soul. At the mountain's base, thick acquired spiritual qi and turbid innate evil qi mixed, forming a cultivation environment unique to the Wu race. As far as the eye could see stood stone-built tribes and skeletons of vicious beasts, primitive and crude. Wu race warriors, several zhang tall, trained in the open air, bare-chested and painted with ferocious totems in unknown pigments. They used no divine abilities, only raw punches and kicks. When their fist wind passed, the air compressed with dull explosive sounds. When their feet struck the ground, the hard earth vibrated and cracked like a drumhead. Pure physical body strength, savage, direct, and devastatingly beautiful. "Stop! Who are you?" A roar like a thunderclap rolled from the plain, forcing Prime Minister Turtle's qi and blood to surge. A Wu race warrior, 3 zhang tall, with a human face and a beast's body, bulging muscles and reddish skin, led a squad to block their path. Heat waves distorted the air around him. The oppressive force, mixed with fiery qi and evil qi, rushed toward them. Prime Minister Turtle paled and instinctively moved half a step behind Long Chen. "I am Li Shan, a great Wu of the Zhurong tribe," the warrior announced. His bell-like eyes locked onto Long Chen and the Prime Minister. He sniffed contemptuously. "Dragon Clan, you water-dwelling worms, unused to staying in your 4 seas, and now you come into my Wu territory? Are you tired of living and want to try a new way to die?" The old wounds from the Dragonhan calamity were still remembered by the new masters of the land. Long Chen ignored the provocation and instead looked up at the boundless divine mountain, its peak lost in the clouds. "Is Pangu Father God still well?" Li Shan and his warriors froze. "You? What did you say?" Confusion replaced the ferocity on Li Shan's face. "I asked if Pangu Father God, who created heaven and earth and transformed into all things, is still well." Long Chen repeated calmly. Li Shan's hostility wavered, replaced by a complex, incomprehensible expression. "Father God." The title was sacred to the Wu race, their supreme name for Pangu, the faith etched into their very blood. Why would this dragon clan, the former supreme overlord of the primordial world who once treated all things as grass, speak of their father god with such reverence? "You dragon clan are oddly interesting," Li Shan muttered, scratching at hair singed by his own flames. Then, his booming voice softened. Father God transformed into all things and coexists with heaven and earth, so of course he is well. Why do you ask? I came from the East Sea. Passing this place, I felt something in my heart. I wish to offer sacrifices to Father God on behalf of my dragon clan. Offer sacrifices to Father God? Li Shan blinked. The warriors behind him whispered among themselves. The dragon clan wants to offer sacrifices to our Father God? Did I hear that right? Don't they worship the ancestral dragon? Another muttered. Li Shan waved his hand, his tone less hostile. If you're sincere, just kowtow 3 times toward Mount Buzo, then be gone. To offer sacrifices, one needs offerings. Long Chen unhurriedly produced a water-blue jade bottle and cracked its stopper. A thread of extremely pure innate Ren water qi, as if alive, seeped out. The violent, fiery evil qi in the surrounding air was doused as if by a basin of sweet heaven dew. The atmosphere softened instantly. Li Shan and his warriors shivered as their hot blood cooled by several degrees and an indescribable comfort spread through their bones. Yet Li Shan's wariness flared anew, and the flames that danced along his skin rose. What do you mean by this? Are you trying to provoke our fire god tribe with water? He demanded. This is the essence of innate Ren water, Long Chen said, and in those few words exposed the Wu race's greatest hidden danger. The Wu race cultivates the physical body. Your qi and blood are extremely rigid and yang. Turbid evil qi entering the body can temper muscles and bones, but it hides a fire poison. Over time, the fiercer the physical body grows, the deeper the fire poison runs. One day it will erupt into a major hazard. This thing can harmonize water and fire, nourish the body, cleanse fire poison, and stabilize the foundation. He flicked his finger. A drop of crystal-clear water, containing the depth of an ocean, floated before Li Shan. The great Wu felt the drop contain an origin power his bloodline instinctively craved. He stared at Long Chen, searching for deceit, but found only calm, profound as the East Sea. After a long struggle with his instincts, he could not resist. He opened his mouth and swallowed the drop. Boom! Coolness erupted through his abdomen like a bursting heavenly river, washing through his limbs and bones, through every inch of muscle and blood. His furnace-hot blood cooled, yet surged faster and more powerfully. Hidden injuries and meridian blockages caused by overzealous cultivation dissolved under that cleansing chill. This thing. Li Shan's eyes widened, shock evident on his face. He stammered. How does it feel? Long Chen asked. Comfortable. Li Shan roared, the words tearing from his throat. His eyes toward Long Chen had changed, hostility gone, replaced by gratitude, curiosity, and astonishment. You Dragon Clan aren't what the rumors say, he bellowed. You said fire poison. This is true? Whether you believe me or not, your body already answered, Long Chen replied, replacing the stopper on the jade bottle. This Ren water essence is a small token of my Dragon Clan's sincerity and an offering to Father God. Please convey to the 12 Zuwu that my Dragon Clan has suppressed the 4 seas and no longer seeks domination. We only wish to live in peace with the Wu race. He was about to turn away. The gift was too important. Li Shan, even a great Wu, dared not accept it or decide for the 12 Zuwu alone. Wait, Li Shan called, his expression solemn now. Don't wander off. I must report this to the Zuwu. He glanced at the jade bottle in Long Chen's hand, transformed into a streak of fire, and rushed toward the ancestral land's depths. Prime Minister Turtle leaned in, voice low and anxious. Your Highness, are we really just going to wait? What if? Wait, Long Chen said simply, folding his hands behind his back and looking back toward Mount Bujo with composed calm. Time slipped by. The surrounding Wu warriors no longer showed overt hostility, but they closed ranks, eyes filled with scrutiny and curiosity, whispering among themselves. After the length of an incense stick's burn, a dull drum sound, like the heartbeat of the land, rolled from the deepest reaches of the ancestral grounds. Dong! The sound affected qi and blood. Prime Minister Turtle felt tightness in his chest, as if about to cough up blood. Again and again. Dong, dong. 11 successive beats, each heavier than the last, then a 12th. 12 auras of different colors rose from the horizon, each a towering pillar of light linking heaven and earth. Space, time, metal, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, rain, thunder, lightning. 12 of the most fundamental law powers to solidify the heavens and earth across Mount Buzo. Prime Minister Turtle's legs went weak. The oppression came from the level of life itself. A verdant figure silently traversed space and appeared before Longchen. The newcomer had a human face and a bird body, treading on two small green dragons and radiating a vast, gentle life aura. Green shoots visibly sprouted where he stood on the scorched earth, the eastern wood Zuwu, Gomang. His verdant eyes, as if bearing the cycle of creation and destruction, looked deeply at Longchen. An innate Ren water essence that can resolve the fire poison in my Wu race's bloodline, Gomang said. His voice was gentle yet carried a power that pierced to the heart. Dragon Clan Crown Prince, this meeting gift of yours is too heavy. Longchen met Gomang's gaze. The emerald eyes reflected lifetimes of birth and death, devoid of Li Shan's hatred and instead full of an inscrutable, searching depth. Speak, Gomang said softly. What do you truly want by coming to my Wu race? His voice was gentle, but it made Prime Minister Turtle, who stood behind Longchen, feel as though his divine soul had been laid bare. The presence of the 12 Zuwu pressed down in a way no ordinary Great Wu could match. Longchen remained calm and inclined his head slightly. I said I'm a junior, here to pay respects to Father God, he replied, and to bring a gift to our neighbors. His answer was flawless. The green light in Gomang's eyes swirled as he opened his mouth to ask more, but a new voice cut him off. Big brother, why waste words with this vermin? A thunderous roar rent the air. A sphere of fierce flame hurtled down from the distance, and a figure strode forward, each step scorching the earth into black glass. Zhurong, lion-faced with a beast's body, had arrived, his presence scorching the air. How many days since the Dragonhan calamity? Zhurong bellowed. You lot should be hiding in the sea, not prancing onto Wu territory. What do you want? His arrival was a signal. The temperature plummeted on the other side. Cold vapor condensed into frost. Gong emerged, human-faced with a serpent's body, his dark eyes fixed on Zhurong alone. He ignored Longchen entirely. Fool, Gong murmured. Can't control your temper again, can you? What did you say? Zhurong snapped, and flames leapt up along his form. Heat and cold clashed, the air sizzled, and space itself seemed to twist. Before the confrontation could erupt, a new figure appeared, forcibly smoothing out the colliding laws. He had 4 wings and 4 feet, a face of chaos. Spatial Zuwu, Dijang. Quiet, he commanded, the words sharp as knife-scraping bone. The Zuwu arrived one after another. Candle Dragon, human-faced, dragon-bodied, the master of time, stood with the flow of time around him already going hazy. Changliang, tiger-headed, man-bodied, 4 hooves crackling with lightning, trod on arcs of electricity. 12 figures representing 12 origin laws walked the earth. Their mere presence made Prime Minister Turtle's legs go weak. Longchen lifted a hand, and a gentle tide of water law energy flowed around the old man, shielding him from the suffocating pressure. A few of the Zuwu glanced at Longchen with renewed interest. Dijang's gaze settled on him. His chaos face betrayed nothing, but his voice carried oppressive weight. Li Shan has already told me your intent. Innate Ren water essence, Longchen said frankly, to purge the evil qi and fire poison from my clan's bloodline. State your conditions, Dijang said. Longchen smiled. I'm not here to haggle. He glanced at Haotu, the gentlest of the Zuwu standing beside Dijang. In her hand was the aquamarine jade bottle. She looked to Dijang, nodded, and spoke softly but firmly. Big brother, it's real. This power can cleanse evil qi and fire poison in a bloodline. It's of great use to us. The fury on Zhurong's face eased as if the uncontrolled heat in his bloodline had been soothed. Yet he still snarled, proud and stubborn. Nonsense! The Wu cultivate the Pangutru body and stand tall beneath heaven. What have we to fear from mere evil qi? Zhurong. Longchen's voice cut through, calm but direct. When you fought Gong recently, haven't you had more trouble holding yourself than before? Zhurong's anger faltered. Gong sneered. You finally can't control your fire. If your brother hadn't stopped you last time, you'd have burned down your own tribe. Shut up! Zhurong's flames flared, threatening to melt the land. Dijang's space laws twisted and shoved them back, and the expressions of the other Zuwu shifted. They no longer looked at Longchen as a failed heir or an interloper. They looked at him as someone who knew things. What exactly do you want? Dijang asked again, more heavily now. A gift that could solve the Wu race's deepest peril could not be given freely. Longchen shook his head. I don't want material pay. He swept his gaze over the 12 Zuwu, pausing on Zhurong and Gonggong. I only want a promise. He spoke it plainly. My dragon clan guards the four seas. Your Wu race governs the earth. From now on, we will not interfere with each other. Silence fell before the Pangu Hall. The dragon clan's offer was too sudden, too sincere. It smelled of stratagem to the proud Wu. After a long while, Dijiang said, voice sharp, the Wu race does not accept favors. We cannot simply take your gift for nothing. Speak. Beyond non-aggression, what else do you seek? If my Wu race can comply and it does not transgress Father God's will, it will be considered. Longchen had been waiting for this. He answered without hesitation. There is one more thing. I hope your race can temporarily refrain from conflict with the Yao race. At that, Zhurong burst into a thunderous laugh, shaking the scorched ground. Peace with those feathered beasts? Have you lost your mind, little dragon? The Yao want to set up a heavenly court to rule all spirits, our arch-enemies. Changliang's thunder crackled in agreement. Gonggong's voice was cold. You worry that a war with the Yao would disturb your seas? Longchen ignored their derision and looked instead at Candle Dragon, who had been quiet with closed eyes. Candle Dragon, you command time. Can you see if your true enemies are the Yao of the Sun Star? Candle Dragon opened his lids slowly. His pupils were dark, not with light, but with a river of time. The assembled Zuwu watched him in silence. I can't see clearly, he said, voice like distant ages. The heavenly secret is shrouded in chaos. A supreme power hides everything. Those words hit harder than Zhurong's fiery contempt. Longchen took the thread and tightened it. No, he corrected. Your real enemy hasn't revealed itself yet. He posed a question that sent murmurs through the assembly. During the Dragon Han calamity, which of the dragon, Phoenix, and Qilin was weaker than the current Wu and Yao? The Zuwu fell into stunned quiet. Back then, the three great races had been more powerful than either the Wu or Yao are now. Then, why were we nearly annihilated? Why did the Great Desolate shatter? Longchen's voice grew cold. Because we pointed our blades at one another while believing we were each other's biggest threat. We were all pieces on a chessboard, moved by an unseen hand. Now it's your turn, he continued, eyes lifting to the 9 heavens above. The heavenly Tao is about to manifest an agent in the sky. When that happens, words will become law, and heaven and earth will shift at a thought. In that enforcer's eyes, what difference will there be between your Pangu bloodline, the emperor of 10,000 Yao, or my dragon god of the 4 seas? All of you will be ants. The last phrase hung light but lethal. Even Dijiang felt a chill crawl into the depths of his bloodline. Zhurong's laughter died, his flames guttered. Lightning on Changliang pooled uneasily. Dijiang's spatial distortions smoothed, his voice dry. I mean this, Longchen said. Until you have the power to overturn the board, a chess piece must first act like a chess piece. He set the Ren water essence bottle gently on the ground. This is my first offering to Father God. My second is what I told you just now. The Dragon Clan will guard the 4 seas. The Wu race will govern the earth and not invade us. In return, I ask only that you do not start a war with the Yao race unless they themselves cross the line. That is my offer and my goodwill. He bowed once, then lifted Prime Minister Turtle, so shaken his legs could barely hold him, and transformed into a streak of pale gold, vanishing toward the horizon. The Zuwu stood motionless. Hao Tu stepped forward, retrieved the jade bottle, and handed it to Dijiang. Big brother, this dragon-crowned prince, he doesn't seem to have lied. Dijiang felt the cool, purifying essence within the jade and fell silent. Candle Dragon's dark pupils watched Longchen's departing direction. An interesting variable, he murmured. 90% of what he said is true, Dijiang admitted. He inhaled, and then his voice carried across the Zuwu tribe as a command. Pass on my order. From this moment, unless the Yao race launches an active invasion, the Wu race shall not provoke a major war. First, we will observe who the enforcer from the Tao above truly is. Chapter 52. The dragon approaches the Sun Star. One word can disrupt destiny. Leaving Mount Buzhou, Longchen did not return to the East Sea. He looked up at the sky. Hung there was a colossal star, radiating endless light and heat, the Sun Star. Your Highness, are we really going to that place? Prime Minister Turtle's voice was dry. He craned his neck to stare at the golden fireball, his old face lined with fear. That place is full of sun-true fire, hot enough to boil the entire sea. What's the difference between us water creatures going up there and throwing ourselves into a cauldron? No matter. A thin layer of golden karma light bloomed over Longchen. It wasn't dazzling, but it gently isolated the heat waves that could melt metal, keeping them at bay. Prime Minister Turtle only felt the pressure around him ease. The burning pain in his divine soul vanished as if evaporated. Longchen stepped forward. The world shifted, and in the next instant, they were standing on the surface of the Sun Star. Beneath their feet was an eternally burning golden land. Every inch of soil flowed like flame. In the air, golden sun, true fire ran in viscous tides. This was a kingdom of fire, a forbidden zone for all things of water. At the very core of the Sun Star floated a magnificent palace, cast entirely from sun-divine gold, resplendent, exuding endless firelight. On its plaque, 3 domineering characters were carved: Demon Emperor Palace. Who dares trespass on the Sun Star? A clear, piercing cry tore across the heavens. 2 swift golden rainbows shot out from the palace and halted before Longchen. The light dissipated, revealing 2 young men in golden imperial robes. Handsome and arrogant, they looked like rulers of the spirits. The one leading them wore a flat Heaven Emperor crown. When his eyes opened and closed, scenes of sun and moon played across them, giving him a majestic, unruffled air. The other carried an ancient, austere great bell carved with rotating patterns of sun, moon, stars, earth, water, fire, and wind. It was Dijun and Tai Yi, the 2 demon emperors of the Yao race. East Sea Dragon Clan Longchen. Longchen didn't call himself prince or divine lord. He simply gave his name. Longchen. Tai Yi raised an eyebrow. The chaos bell in his hand thudded once. Om. A suppressive power spread, forcing the golden flames to momentarily stagnate, as if space itself groaned. I wondered who it was, so it's a loser from the Dragonhan calamity. Tai Yi's voice dripped contempt and battle intent. I heard you took a huge advantage at the Dao Demon War's final moment? His words were like tinder to the sun true fire. Under their weight, Prime Minister Turtle's face went pale, his legs trembling as if he might kneel. Longchen, however, remained calm. The golden karma light around him rippled, neutralizing the Chaos Bell's oppressive force into nothing. He looked at Tai Yi, voice even. It seems, Your Majesty the Eastern Emperor, you hold considerable resentment towards my dragon clan. Humph, a sludge of mudfish entangled in karma. Are they even worth my resentment? Tai Yi sneered. Tai Yi! Dijun's voice cut in, steady, stopping his brother from erupting. He cupped his hands politely toward Longchen with a humble air. So this is fellow Taoist Longchen. I have long admired your name. The Dragon Clan guards the 4 seas by heavenly Tao and bears great karma. Fellow Taoist, what brings you to my Sun Star today? Dijun's words were impeccable, praising Longchen while remaining reasonable. Nothing major. Longchen's gaze swept from the 2 of them to the Demon Emperor Palace. I heard the Yao race has risen, and the 2 of you wish to emulate my dragon clan, to unify the Great Desolation and establish a supreme order. As someone who's been through that before, I came to see how the excitement unfolds. Presumptuous, Tai Yi exploded. The Chaos Bell hummed again, its voice almost materializing. My Yao race rules all spirits by heaven's will, acting for the heavenly Tao. How can that be compared to your dragon clan, entangled in karma and long fallen? Tai Yi, don't be rude, Dijun admonished. He regarded Longchen with a trace of scrutiny. Fellow Taoist Longchen must be joking. The Dragonhan calamity is past. Our Yao race simply seeks to re-establish order across this chaotic great desolation so all spirits have a place. Order? Longchen repeated the word and smiled. What a grand order. I just came from Mount Buzhou. The neighbors there don't look very interested in your order. Dijun and Tai Yi's expressions darkened at once. The Witch Clan, the barbarians who acknowledged only Pangu and neither heaven nor earth, were the greatest obstacle to the Yao race's heavenly court. Dijun's voice cooled. The Witch Clan, as Pangu's bloodline, has its own destiny. Our order does not yet extend to them. Is that so? Longchen's smile deepened. He did not directly challenge them but shifted casually. Fellow Taoist Dijun, your Yao race now controls the myriad races across the Great Desolation, occupying over 70% of the continent. With countless demon gods and demon saints under you, Your momentum is vast and commendable. Dijun nodded. It was fact, not arrogance. Long Chen's tone then slid into a seemingly obvious question. Then surely the luck of the great desolation gathered by your race must be unparalleled in the world, far surpassing all others, correct? The question stopped the words on Dijun's lips. A flicker of gloom crossed Taiyi's face. As demon emperors, they felt luck clearer than most. The Yao race's luck was vast, like the noon sun, but not unparalleled. They didn't have an absolute advantage. Dijun hesitated. The luck of the great desolation has its own fixed measure, he said at last. Long Chen smiled and said aloud what Dijun avoided. Fixed measure? How quaint. I heard those barbarians on Mount Buzhou, doing nothing but guarding their small land, inexplicably hold 30% of the great desolation's luck. And your Yao race, after integrating the myriad races and spreading over 70% of the continent, in the end gets only 30%. The rest is scattered among the myriad races. His voice was calm, but every word was a red-hot blade, cutting straight to Dijun and Taiyi's deepest unease. Why did the witch clan, isolated and stubborn, hold so much luck? The demon emperors had no satisfying answer. Fellow Taoist, what do you mean by that? Dijun's voice turned cold. Emotion slightly warped the space around him. No meaning. Long Chen spread his hands and let his gaze sweep the endless void, and then fall back to the burning earth beneath them. I just feel the heaven of this great desolation is too high, and the earth is too thick. Heaven is too high, so it pretends not to see some things. Earth is too thick, so it pretends not to hear some sounds. For you two to set up an order between this heaven and earth, it won't be easy. Both demon emperors fell silent. They were not fools. They understood the deeper implication at once. You mean? Taiyi's voice was hoarse. For the first time, his arrogance fell away. Back then, which of my dragon, Phoenix, and Qilin clans was weaker than the current witch and Yao clans? Long Chen replied, We all thought our enemies were one another. Only after fighting to the bitter end did we discover we were all pieces on a chessboard, our fates manipulated by an invisible hand. Now it's your turn. With that, Long Chen no longer lingered. He cupped his hands to the two demon emperors. The excitement is over. Stay here. My dragon clan within the 4 seas awaits your good news. He pulled Prime Minister Turtle, who had almost been unnerved into collapse by the earlier pressure, and, with a flash, disappeared from the sun star. Only Long Chen's parting words echoed in the burning air. The imperial throne is comfortable, but falling from it is painful. My dragon clan has already fallen once. Before the Demon Emperor Palace, Dijun and Taiyi remained, faces shifting under the Sun True Fire's reflection. Time passed. Big brother! Taiyi ground his teeth, resentment lacing his voice. This Long Chen is trying to incite us to war with the Witch Clan. He wants both of us to suffer so he can reap the benefits. Dijun said nothing at first, staring in the direction Long Chen had vanished. He's right. He's not inciting. Taiyi sputtered, stunned at the calm in his elder brother's voice. Dijun turned to him slowly, speaking each word. He's reminding us that the heavenly Tao is unjust. Our enemy may not have been those barbarians on Mount Buzhou from the start, but this heaven, this earth, this thing that set all the rules. Leaving the sun star, Long Chen did not hurry back to the 4 seas. He dispersed his divine light and took the form of a Taoist in a green robe, an empty wine gourd hanging from his waist, and set off wandering across the great desolate continent. Prime Minister Turtle drew in his aura as well, shrinking into a palm-sized black turtle that rested quietly on Long Chen's shoulder. His journey lasted tens of thousands of years. He was no longer the calculating Dragon Clan crown prince so much as a simple seeker of the Tao, measuring the world, Pangu's body made manifest, with his own feet. He climbed to the Kunlun mountain range, the ancestor of all mountains formed from Pangu's spine, where clear qi rose and turbid qi sank. Above its peaks, 3 streams of pure innate clear qi swirled subtly, as if nurturing something. Long Chen did not climb to disturb them. He sat by a stream at the mountain's base for 1,000 years, watching meltwater gather into a current that fed plants, watched fish eggs hatch and become prey for birds, watched life recycle back into the earth. This was life. That ultimate principle, from nothing to something, he folded into his 24 heavens worlds, letting the world's laws evolve and seeding them with true vitality. He also traveled to the Sea of Blood, where resentment and karma hung thick as unresolvable ink, and a foul wind could strip a being's soul. In its center floated a giant blood-red placenta in an ocean of karma, brewing a supremely pure intent of slaughter and destruction. Longchen stood at the shore and watched a trapped, vicious beast be corroded by karma, reduced to withered bones and then dissolved into the blood, becoming nourishment for the placenta. This was death. He did not dispel the foul wind. He reached out and let a single drop of water of life, infused with his 1,000 years of insight, fall. The drop passed through layers of karma and merged precisely into the placenta. The placenta trembled with satisfaction, and the great Tao of slaughter within it gained the faintest hint of reincarnation. The end of slaughter might not always be final. 10,000 years of wandering, 10,000 years of witnessing. His 24 heavens worlds were no longer an empty shell. Suns and moons rotated, seasons changed, wind, frost, rain, and snow appeared, and on the central continent even primitive plant origin qi had been born. It only lacked a catalyst to give birth to true living beings. Longchen's Tao grew deeper with each journey. On one day, his steps halted before an unnamed valley. He had not stopped at random. Karma lines here pulsed unusually alive, as if something tied to the world's grand destiny was about to unfold. In the valley stood an innate banana tree with 4 huge leaves, green, red, white, and black, each corresponding to one of the 4 innate laws: wind, fire, yang, and yin. Longchen sat cross-legged beneath it and watched. 3 days later, violent origin qi rippled from outside the valley, accompanied by the clang of metal and the dull thud of fists that shook loose rocks. "Ho Yi, you brute! You killed my imperial nephew. His Majesty Dijun has decreed that today you'll be ground to dust," roared a voice full of towering hatred. A Wu race man, 2 zhang tall with bulging muscles, was surrounded by a dozen Yao warriors. He fought bare-handed. Every punch made the air tremble and the ground crack. But the Yao warriors had formed a small star-dew formation. Starlight flowed along their armor and connected. Hao Yi's blows were dispersed into the void realm as if striking the sea. From various points in the formation, long blades of starlight thrust outward at deadly angles. A blade grazed Hou Yi's back, drawing a line of blood. Dim starlight clung to the wound and kept the Wu race's powerful body from healing. At the head of the Yao force stood Qin Yuan, a great general under the Yao god Jimeng, clad in silver star armor and wielding a long halberd burning with sun-true fire. Hou Yi spat blood and glared. Those 7 little golden crows, calling themselves crown princes, hovered over a newly formed tribe and rained true fire down every day, baking the earth and watching beings burn for sport. 100,000 died in a month. What's wrong with me killing them? Qin Yuan sneered, the contempt plain in his voice. A newly formed tribe? They're not even proper Yao. So fragile a gust of wind could blow them over. If they died, they died. You, Hou Yi, a great Wu, killed His Majesty Dijun's blood nephew for those ants? Do you want to go to war with the Yao race over them? They are not ants. Hou Yi's roar shook the valley. He pointed to his chest. They call me their god. I will protect them. If you touch them, you touch me. His blood qi flared. He stopped defending and charged at Qin Yuan like a meteor. Qin Yuan smiled cruelly. The star-dough formation tightened and a dozen starlight blades cut off Hou Yi's escape. His halberd transformed into a fire dragon and drove toward Hou Yi's heart. It was a killing blow. Prime Minister Turtle poked his head out from Long Chen's shoulder, nervous. "Your Highness, this big fellow is a good man, but he fights too simply. He's about to be ambushed to death." Long Chen said nothing. He watched Hou Yi, watching a pivotal figure who would one day shoot down 9 suns and reshape the Wu-Yao balance. He saw the determination in Hou Yi's eyes and a thread of especially pure luck entwined around him. Just as the halberd was about to pierce Hou Yi's chest, Long Chen moved. He did not stand. He merely extended a finger and pointed at the void realm before him. A gentle green light left his fingertip, arriving after the attack yet reaching first. It landed on Hou Yi's body. The Wu, prepared to die with his enemy, felt an indescribably vast surge of vitality flood him. The deep wound on his back knit at an astonishing rate, sealing completely without a scar. The stellar power that clung to the wound hissed and turned to green smoke. His depleted blood chi surged back stronger than before. Who? Who did that? Qin Yuan barked, halting mid-strike and scanning wildly. Hao Yi, stunned, tracked the source of that life force and saw the Taoist in green sitting beneath the banana tree with closed eyes. Who are you? He called, his voice booming with gratitude and wariness. A passerby, merely observing, Long Chen replied, opening his eyes. His gaze swept the Yao soldiers before settling on Hou Yi. You said? The human race? Yes. Hou Yi's fierce expression softened. A very weak but very resilient race, born long ago. They deserve protection. Long Chen repeated softly, a hint of understanding flickering across his face. Qin Yuan, seeing that Long Chen's aura felt ordinary and lacked the pressure of a powerful expert, grew bolder. No matter who you are, interfering in Yao matters is a path to death. Kill him! The dozen Yao warriors activated their formation and charged again. Starlight braided into a net far fiercer than before. Long Chen didn't look at them. He looked at Hou Yi. Do you still want to fight? Fight! I must fight! Hou Yi's fists clenched, his battle intent flared. Every single one of those scoundrels must die! Good. Long Chen nodded. He pointed like a sword and drew his finger toward the innate banana tree. The green leaf, representing the law of wind, detached, became a ribbon of light, and floated to Hou Yi. You fight with brute strength, Long Chen said. You know how to strike, not how to borrow strength. Take this. Hou Yi caught the leaf instinctively. A vast, boundless understanding of the law of wind surged into his mind. Principles he had never considered became clear. When the Yao formation charged, he no longer met them with brute force. Instead, following the insights that had flooded him, he simply fanned the banana leaf. There was no thunderous sound, no cataclysmic blast, only a soft breeze. The dozen Yao warriors and their proud Stardew formations scattered like sand paintings in the wind. Their bodies crumbled from their feet up, turning to dust inch by inch, their faces frozen in the ferocity of their charge. They could not scream. Their forms and souls were annihilated, erased without a trace. Not even a true soul remained. Only Qin Yuan remained, dropped to his knees, the halberd clattering from his slack hands. He was rigid, humiliated. Hou Yi stood with his arms still half raised, his throat dry. He looked at the glowing leaf in his hand, then up at the Taoist in green, who sat calmly beneath the tree. Hou Yi, a great Wu who had never known fear, felt a deep reverence rise from his very soul. You, who exactly are you? He asked. Chapter 54. The Purple Sky Palace opens, and Hongjun becomes a saint. I'm just a passerby. Long Chen waved his hand. The green banana leaf around him streaked through the air and flew back into his palm, folding into the innate banana tree. Is your name Hou Yi? Yes, this junior, Hou Yi, is the Grand Witch of the Dijiang Zhuwu tribe. Hou Yi puffed out his chest and announced his name. Where is that tribe you mentioned? If you go east from here, you'll see it. Hou Yi pointed. They're weak, but they're trying to survive. Are you going to see them too? I'll go. Long Chen nodded, said no more, and turned to leave. Senior, Hou Yi called after him. I will never forget the life-saving grace you showed today. May I ask your esteemed name? Long Chen didn't look back. His figure flickered through the forest, and only his voice drifted on the wind. My surname is Long. He was already gone. Surname Long? Hou Yi scratched his head, baffled. On the primordial continent, who else could have that name? Weren't the dragon clan supposedly crushed and hidden? The thought puzzled him, but he let it go. Long Chen did not go straight to the tribe. He hovered in the clouds and watched them from a distance. It was a small settlement tucked between mountain and river. Frail people wrapped in animal skins, shaping crude stone tools, tending a fire, and clinging to life in the most primitive way on this dangerous continent. Long Chen could sense how fragile their lives were. Even the weakest demon soldier could wipe them out. Yet their spirit was stubbornly resilient. He saw a mother fall while fending off a beast. When her child cried, he wiped his tears, picked up the stone spear his mother had dropped, and though his eyes were full of fear, there was a spark, hope. People of the Fiery Legacy. Long Chen murmured their name. Just as he was about to turn away, a single, vast bell chime pealed from the heights above the 9 heavens. Dong, a majestic, cold tone that belonged to no ordinary magic treasure. It seemed to spring from the Tao itself and spread instantly across the primordial 4 seas, the 3 realms, and the 6 paths. Every living being, whether in seclusion or in battle, regardless of cultivation, felt their divine souls seize and freeze. From the chaos beyond the 33 heavens, a supreme pressure descended, not the domineering force of an ancestral dragon or the destructive rage of Rahu, nor the brute might of the 12 Zulu. It was formless and intangible yet omnipresent. It was heaven, Tao, the supreme rule of the world. Purple chi unfurled 30,000 li to the east across the sky. Golden lotuses bloomed from the void realm upon the earth. The entire primordial world declared a major event in the most solemn fashion. Prime Minister Turtle, perched on Longchen's shoulder, stiffened until his limbs stretched straight and he toppled off. Saint's pressure, he cried. It's Hongjun, that old fellow Hongjun. He's become a saint. The turtle's voice trembled, carrying fear from ancient memories. Longchen looked up, his gaze cutting through the void realm toward the deepest chaos where the purple chi was thickest. An era of saints had officially begun. An aged, indifferent voice without emotion echoed simultaneously into the sea of consciousness of all living beings. I, Hongjun, have now become a saint, attaining the Hunyuan Dao fruit. 1,000 years from now, I will preach the Dao in Xianxia Palace, beyond the 33 heavens. Those with opportunity may come and listen. The voice faded, and the saint's pressure that had blanketed the primordial world slowly receded. The shock, however, ignited the entire world. On Kunlun Mountain, 3 streams of pure chi shot into the sky and formed 3 Taoists. They opened their eyes in unison and looked toward chaos. Saint! This is the saint realm we seek. Our teacher has attained the Tao. We too must strive to catch up. Xixiao Palace, we must go. On the Sunstar, within the Demon Emperor Palace, Dijun and Taiyi rose simultaneously, faces lit with uncontrollable excitement. A saint! This is the ultimate Tao we pursue. Big brother, 1,000 years from now, at Xixiao Palace, the front row seats must belong to us brothers. At Mount Buzhou, in the 12 Zulu Divine Hall, Zhurong clenched his fist with a sneer. A saint? So what? Can he take a punch from me? He cultivates the primordial spirit, a different path from ours, Dijiang said calmly. Still, for him to trigger the resonance of the heavenly Tao, he must have genuine skill. Hutu asked softly, should we go listen? No, Jujuin answered decisively. Our witch clan does not cultivate the primordial spirit. Listening to his preaching would be like reading a celestial book. We'd be better off using that time to refine our strength. Across the primordial continent, the great powers prepared to listen to the Tao in Xixiao Palace in their own ways. Long after the saint's pressure had faded, the atmosphere inside the coiling dragon hall atop the crystal palace in the East Sea had grown even thicker. News of Longchen's return had already spread through the 4 seas, and now the high-ranking members of the Dragon Clan were gathered in silence. Your Highness, Hongjun has become a saint. What do you think of this? Zulong's old voice cut through the quiet, and all eyes turned to Longchen at the head of the table. Good news. Longchen said the words calmly. Good news? Ao Dong, Dragon Lord of the North Sea, was stunned. Your Highness, the emergence of a saint sets the grand trend of heaven and earth. The future for our dragon clan will likely become more difficult. How can this be good news? More than just difficult. Ao Nan, Dragon Lord of the South Sea, slammed the table and roared. That old Taoist Hongjun doesn't look like a benevolent man. Back in the West, if not for your Highness's flawless calculations, our dragon clan might have been used as a pawn in his fight against Rahu. Now he's become a saint. What if he wants to settle old scores and target our dragon clan? What do we do then? Their fears hung heavy in the hall. The dragon clan was the orthodox power of the 4 seas, but what did that matter against a lofty heavenly Tao saint? Longchen smiled. By what right does he settle scores? He swept his gaze over his worried uncles and brothers. Our dragon clan, by the decree of the heavenly Tao, eternally guards the 4 seas. That is authority given by the Tao. Below us lies immeasurable karma that suppresses the Western ancestral vein, protection earned by generations of dragon descendants. Let Hongjun try to touch us. If he dares, we won't even need to act. The heavenly Tao itself will object. Does he still want to sit firmly in his saint position then? His words rang out and calmed the panic in the hall. But your Highness, Zulong pressed, he is a saint. They say that beneath a saint, all are ants. That's true. Long Chen nodded, then shifted the topic. Precisely because of that, we must go and listen to the Tao. The hall erupted again. What? Go listen to the Tao? Your Highness, no. Ziqiao Palace is Hongjun's domain. If we go, wouldn't we be walking into a trap? Exactly. What if he uses preaching as a pretext to suppress us? How do we handle that? Long Chen raised a hand and quieted the clamor. He looked at them one by one and spoke deliberately. What exactly are you afraid of, Hongjun or a saint? The dragon lords fell silent, no one answering. You are afraid of the unknown. You don't know how strong a saint is, nor what he intends to do. Therefore, we must go all the more. He rose from his seat, his gaze sweeping over everyone. This trip to Zixiao Palace is not worship, it is reconnaissance. We must see for ourselves what a saint truly is. We must hear for ourselves what Tao he will preach, and whether it aligns with the interests of our dragon clan. He walked to the center of the hall, and his voice deepened. Hongjun's preaching, though it may appear to be a benevolent service to the primordial world, is in truth an attempt to establish the future rules of heaven and earth. There are 6 saint positions. Who sits in them? Who does not? These will be decided in that palace. Our dragon clan may not be able to contend for those seats, but we must be there. We must let him and all other powers vying for saints see our presence. Let them know the main characters of this primordial heaven and earth won't be decided by Hongjun alone. Within the 4 seas, it is still our dragon clan that holds sway. Aonan felt his blood surge. Your Highness means. Long Chen's smile turned cold. He sets his game. We seize our opportunities. We will go to listen to this Tao. We will contend for saint positions. Even if we don't win, we cannot let our enemies take them easily. Zixiao Palace, we will not just go, we will go with great fanfare. Inside the coiling dragon hall, there was a heavy, almost tangible silence. Aonan, dragon lord of the South Sea, was the first to rise. Hot-tempered and loud, he could not hide his agitation. Scales along his dragon physical body even bristled with excitement. What, Your Highness? We actually have to go to listen to the Tao, he barked, dragon eyes like brass bells and crimson whiskers trembling. Absolutely not, he added. Our dragon clan swore a solemn oath to the heavenly Tao never to set foot on the great desolate continent. That oath is carved into our true spirits. If we break it, the heavenly Tao will punish us. Who could bear that? Our clan has only just found this chance to survive. Ao Shi, dragon lord of the West Sea, also rose. He wore a worried expression. As steward of clan affairs, he thought more deeply. Your Highness, Aonan is not entirely wrong. We only just escaped the quagmire of the Great Tribulation and exchanged it for the stability of guarding the 4 seas. Zixiao Palace lies far beyond the 33 heavens, in the chaos where dangers are everywhere. Even a Grand Unity Golden Immortal could get lost there. Why should we take such a risk? Not going means waiting for death. Long Chen's voice was calm, but it cut through the murmurs and silenced the hall. He rose from the throne and walked to the center, his gaze sweeping over the assembled dragon lords. Do you really think that eternally guarding the 4 seas will keep you safe? He stopped and asked them directly. Tell me, why is Hongjun preaching the Tao? The dragon kings exchanged glances, none offering an answer. He wants to spread his Tao, to found a sect, this so-called Xuanmen, Aonan muttered. He wants to set new rules for the world, rules that belong to him, Hongjun, and to his Xuanmen, Long Chen echoed, his voice ringing through the empty hall. The words struck at the hearts of every dragon clan noble. This is a brand new era, he continued. If we don't go, don't listen, don't watch, we'll cut ourselves off from it. One day, when Xuanmen's blade is at our throats, you won't even know where we went wrong. Those words were like a basin of cold water. The Dragon King's hopes dimmed. The ancient candle dragon's cloudy eyes cleared. He considered for a long time before speaking. Your Highness is right. One must know oneself and one's enemy. Still, the heavenly Tao oath is a weighty obstacle. Oaths are meant to be kept, but they are also meant to be understood, Long Chen said. He stepped before Ao Dong, Dragon Lord of the North Sea, and fixed him with a steady look. Uncle, the oath forbids ever setting foot on the Great Desolate Continent. Is Zixiao Palace on the Great Desolate Continent? Ao Dong hesitated, then shook his head. No, it isn't. It's in the chaos beyond the 33 heavens. Then that settles it, Long Chen said. Turning to Ao Shi, he asked, "Second uncle, the oath forbids participating in the struggle for heavenly and earthly hegemony. We would go to Xixiao Palace to seek the Tao, to learn a saint's methods, so we can better guard the four seas and protect our clan. Does that count as a struggle for hegemony?" Ao Shi could not find an answer. It did not sound like it. Ao Nan scratched his head and rumbled, "But that old ancestor Hong Jun, he schemed against us before. What if, on his home ground, he attacks us?" "He wouldn't dare." Long Chen's voice was utterly calm, but carried a certainty that felt like a seal. "He just became a saint. What he needs most is prestige, followers, and to show the great desolate his magnanimity. He invited those with karma. If we go, we are the greatest karma there is. If he attacked guests he had invited, especially guests like us, who bear the heavenly Tao's mandate and the karma of suppressing the four seas, how would he keep face as a saint? Would his newly opened Xuanmen still hope to attract the great powers of the great desolate? Not only would he not dare touch us, Long Chen said, his voice cutting like a blade, he would have to treat us as honored guests. He lifted a finger, the room growing colder. Because what we represent is not merely the Dragon Clan, but the authority the heavenly Tao granted over the four seas. To move against us would be to question the Tao itself. Hongjun does not yet have that courage. In the coiling dragon hall, there was no longer any doubt. Ao Nan drew a long breath, his agitation gone, and bowed deeply to Long Chen. "Your Highness," Ao Nan was short-sighted, "I will assemble the finest young warriors of the clan to guard your Highness. We, the Dragon Clan, respectfully obey the Crown Prince's decree." The Dragon Kings rose together, their voices shaking the hall. "Good," Long Chen nodded. "In 1,000 years' time I will lead the expedition, accompanied by Elder Candle Dragon and Uncle Ao Dong. The rest will remain to guard the four seas and maintain the 10,000 Dragons World Purification Formation. There must be no mistakes." "As you command." 1,000 years passed as if in the blink of an eye. On the appointed day, the East Sea lay calm and flat, yet within the four seas, every aquatic life felt a tremor in its bloodline. In their immortal caves, countless beings prostrated themselves, sending their most primal reverence toward the Crystal Palace. The 10,000 Dragons World Purification Formation, an ancient suppression, opened silently. Seawater split aside, revealing a waterway that rose to the sky. From it emerged a mystic crystal dragon boat, carved not from metal, but from the essence of mystic crystal that had accumulated for hundreds of millions of years in the deepest reaches of the East Sea. Its body was dark and suffused with a deep starlight. There were no ornate decorations on its hull, only naturally formed dragon-shaped Tao patterns linked to the luck of the four-sea dragon veins. A solid, golden light of karma, like glazed glass, cloaked the boat. The mystic crystal dragon boat broke free of the sea and rose toward the nine heavens. Wherever it passed, even the violent nine heavens astral wind was subdued. At the bow stood Long Chen, hands clasped behind his back, white robes undisturbed by the wind. Behind him, the Candle Dragon and Ao Dong restrained their chi, one an ancient, immovable reef, the other a tempest coiled to explode. Behind them stood 36 elite Dragon Clan warriors in dark-scale armor, each a Grand Unity Golden Immortal who had survived the ancient bloody battles. The dragon boat tore through space and plunged into the chaos beyond the 33 heavens. Immediately, a savage surge of chaos chi struck at them. In the distance, a red-robed Taoist riding a cloud of fire fended off the turbulence with a magic treasure, but was still tossed and looked disheveled, old ancestor Hongjun of Huoyun Cave. Once Hongjun stabilized himself, he saw the massive mystic crystal dragon boat, its golden karma crown steady as if sailing on level ground. None of the Dragon Clan on board had robes fluttering. Chaos chi crashed against the golden light and could not even raise a ripple. The Dragon Clan. Hongjun's eyes widened in shock. They actually came out. What grandeur, what profound karma. He watched the dragon boat as it continued deeper into the chaos, past layers of tearing spatial fragments and violent astral wind. Its progress was steady, neither hasteful nor slow, heading toward the richest bands of purple chi. The deeper they went, the more vicious the chaos became. Spatial shards that could rend a Grand Unity Golden Immortal's physical body steamed past. Many great desolate powers had drawn their most precious protective magic treasures and were advancing with difficulty. Observing the dragon boat, these great powers reassessed the ancient overlord that had lain dormant for countless years. Just as the mystic crystal dragon boat was about to enter a turbulent patch of chaos riddled with spatial cracks, a soft, pure moonlight suddenly flared ahead. Auspicious light and propitious clouds flowed, and an ethereal dome of light blocked their path. When the light faded, a woman stood in the chaos, plainly robed in a palace gown and holding a dragon-headed staff. She carried a calm, noble bearing and was suffused with innate lunar qi, as if she alone were the moonlight in this part of the chaos. Dong stepped forward, dragon might rippling outward, causing the surrounding chaos qi to surge. "Who are you, and why do you block the dragon clan's path?" The woman ignored Dong's challenge. Her gaze slid past him and landed directly on Longchen. "Queen Mother of the West," she announced in a voice clear and cold, yet carrying undeniable majesty, "the reclusive immortal of West Qilin." She inclined her head slightly to Longchen in greeting. "Greetings, Crown Prince of the Dragon Clan." Chapter 56, The West Resurrects, Xuanwu Returns, Queen Mother of the West? Longchen regarded the elegant, innate-born immortal woman before him with a calm expression. He nodded slightly. "You honor me, fellow Taoist. May I ask why you have stopped my Dragon Clan's carriage?" The Queen Mother's eyes lingered on Zulong and Dong behind Longchen. The auras of those two ancient Dragon Clan titans, one as deep as an abyss, the other fierce as molten magma, warned her not to underestimate them. She turned her gaze back to Longchen. "I would never presume to instruct," she said, her voice clear and cool like the wind over Kunlun, yet courteous. "West Qilin owes a great debt to the Dragon Clan. Were it not for your highness, the Crown Prince, suppressing the Western ancestral vein with the Black Tortoise sacred beast in those days, West Qilin might still be a barren land without spiritual qi. I have come this time first to represent West Qilin and to thank your highness, the Crown Prince," she continued. "Second, I hope to build good karma with your highness." She flicked a delicate hand and produced a white jade plate holding 9 immortal peaches. Each fruit emanated innate Gengmetal qi and a strong Tao resonance. "This small gift is a token of our respect. These are the flat peaches of West Qilin, which ripen only once every 9,000 years. I ask your highness, the Crown Prince, to accept them." Longchen glanced at the peaches and understood her intent: express gratitude, lay claim to relationship, and invest in future favor. She was clever. "You are considerate, fellow Taoist." He did not refuse. Sometimes accepting puts the other side more at ease than rejecting them. Dong stepped forward and silently took the jade plate. "The Dragon Clan guards the 4 seas and does not meddle in disputes, but we do not refuse goodwill," Longchen told the Queen Mother. "We appreciate your kindness. If you have leisure in the future, you are welcome to visit the East Sea for a chat." That acceptance eased the Queen Mother's rigid majesty into a faint smile. She bowed once more. "In that case, I will not delay your highness's journey. We shall meet again at Xianxia Palace." Her figure turned into a clear glow and merged into the flow of cultivators heading into the chaos ahead. Dong, still holding the plate of peaches, looked at Longchen in mild puzzlement. "Your highness, this Queen Mother of the West. A woman who knows how to read a situation," Longchen said softly. "She isn't gambling so much as she is creating karma." Their dragon boat pressed onward, cutting deeper into the chaos. Around them, violent torrents of chaotic qi lashed like blades. Many primordial world great powers conjured magic treasures, their lights flickering as they fought to advance, each step consuming vast reserves of power. Only the Dragon Clan's mystic crystal dragon boat, wrapped in a solid golden light of karma, moved undisturbed. No ripple from the chaos touched it. That stark contrast made everyone keep a respectful distance. At last, a purple palace radiating boundless Tao resonance appeared at the end of the chaos, Xianxia Palace. Its gates stood wide, flanked by 2 childlike Taoist attendants. When the dragon boat came to a silent stop before the gates, nearly every great power present turned their eyes toward it, envy, suspicion, vigilance all mingling. Longchen stowed the dragon boat, straightened his robes, and, with Zulong and Dong at his sides, walked composedly toward the gates. "Fellow Taoists," he greeted without effect. "Fellow Taoist Longchen, Taiching Taoist, one of the three pure ones, returned with a slight bow. Behind him, Yuanshi Tianzun furrowed his brow while the Tongqian cult master watched Long Chen with curiosity. An unpleasant voice then rang out. Fellow Taoist Long Chen, long time no see. This poor Taoist thought that since the Dragon Clan swore an oath to forever guard the four seas, they would never set foot in the primordial world again. A sallow-faced Taoist strode over, Jiyin from the west, sorrow carved into his features. Junti stood beside him, equally troubled. So it is the two fellow Taoists from the west, Long Chen observed, sweeping his gaze over them. The western earth vein has just recovered. Why are you two not stabilizing your Tao field on Mount Sumeru and instead rushing into this deeper chaos? Are you not afraid of an unstable foundation? His words hit a sore point. Junti forced a couple of dry laughs. Fellow Taoist Long Chen jests. A saint's sermon is a rare opportunity. My senior brother and I would come even if our Tao fields were collapsing. Yet, fellow Taoist, you have openly violated the oath you swore to heaven. Are you not afraid of heaven's punishment? His tone carried condemnation for all to hear. Before Long Chen could reply, Aodong stepped forward. The violent aura of an ancient dragon lord burst out, the dragon might like a prison in the air. How dare you? When was it your place, you bald donkey from the west, to interfere with my highness's actions? Junti went pale under the pressure but forced himself to stand firm. Long Chen raised a hand. Enough, Aodong. He looked to Junti and spoke slowly. First, our Dragon Clan's oath was to never set foot on the primordial continent. Tell me, fellow Taoist, is Xianxia Palace, beyond the 33 heavens, located on the primordial continent? Junti was momentarily struck dumb. Second, our oath forbade us from participating in struggles for earthly hegemony. We are here to listen to the saint's sermon, to seek Tao and learn. Is that considered vying for hegemony? Junti opened his mouth but had no answer. Third, Long Chen's voice cooled. The saint declared that all those with karma may come to listen. I have come because I have karma. Does fellow Taoist Junti imply that the saint's words do not apply? A heavy accusation settled on him. Junti's face drained green as he waved his hands in frantic denial. I would never. This poor Taoist has no such intention. He pulled Jian and retreated sheepishly. The storm subsided, and the way many of the great powers looked at Long Chen shifted from suspicion to respect. This Dragon Clan crown prince possessed not only terrifying cultivation, but also impeccable rhetoric. A clear bell chimed inside the palace. The two attendants stepped forward and bowed. The teacher has commanded the gates be opened to receive guests. Everyone hurried to compose themselves and filed into the palace. The main hall of Xianxia Palace was vast and majestic, suffused with the flow of great Tao that clarified the divine soul. There were no ornate trappings, only 6 purple futons placed at the front, each a special material embossed with natural Tao patterns that seemed linked to the palace's Taoic origin. Merely sitting near them stirred one's primordial spirit and sharpened comprehension. Everyone understood that those 6 places were the most auspicious. The one who took a futon would reap the greatest benefit from the sermon. A hush of expectation swept the hall. 3 clear lights flashed as the 3 pure ones settled onto the first 3 futons. Priests formed from Pangu's primordial spirit and bearing the karma of creation. Nuwa followed gracefully and took the 4th. The remaining 2 futons became hotly contested. The Demon Emperor Dijun and Taiyi moved to claim them when a flash of bloodlight put Old Ancestor Mingye into the 5th seat. For the last futon, Kunpeng the Demon Master and Old Ancestor Honghuang lunged simultaneously, nearly coming to blows. As the front of the hall erupted into the chaos of power and ambition, Long Chen, flanked by Zulong and Aodong, walked past without pausing. He went straight to the very back of the hall, chose an unassuming corner, and sat down. The hall fell silent at his unexpected choice. Kunpeng and Dijun froze mid-scramble and stared at him in bewilderment. Even the 3 pure ones and Nuwa glanced back, surprised. What was the Dragon Clan Crown Prince thinking? Was he uninterested in such an opportunity? Aodong leaned in and whispered, "Your Highness, this?" "Watching the show," Long Chen murmured, then closed his eyes as if everything beyond him were irrelevant. Just as puzzled whispers spread and the atmosphere turned awkward, the air outside trembled. A vast, boundless aura of life erupted, accompanied by a profound yellow light of karma that pierced heavens and shook earth. It surged from the direction of the primordial world's western continent, so pure and magnificent that it sliced through endless space and even reached the chaos beyond the 33 heavens. Every cultivator in Xianxia Palace opened their eyes. They could feel the once barren western land regenerating at an astonishing speed, dead spiritual roots sprouting new shoots, desiccated ancestral veins surging with fresh energy. "What happened in the west?" Dijun asked, dazed. All eyes turned, by reflex, to the two western cultivators in the hall. Jean and Junti had been stricken with sorrow earlier. Now that sorrow evaporated, replaced by shock and exultation. As natives of the West, they could sense their homeland's recovery. From the depths of the western earth vein, an ancient, immense figure rose, world-bearing and suffused with profound yellow qi. The northern sacred beast had completed its karma. Xuanwu, the black tortoise, had returned. The return of Xuanwu caused an uproar. A pillar of deep yellow karma light pierced heaven and earth, and the vast vitality that spread from it made the whole western great desolation shiver. Inside Xianxia Palace, the arguments over who would take the futons abruptly stopped. All the great powers froze, their divine thoughts probing chaos and converging on the continent that was reviving. Xuanwu, his sin of suppressing the ancestral vein actually became his karma? He actually turned infinite karma into his own Tao foundation. Dijun whispered, his golden pupils full of solemn awe. One step to heaven. Inside the hall, emotions tangled. Jean and Junti looked even more bitter than before. Xuanwu had once suppressed the earth vein of their western land. Now his karma had reached perfection, and all the gains fell to this old turtle alone. There wasn't even a sip left for them. No one could complain. Just as everyone's thoughts spun, that mountain-like figure moved. He did not linger in the west. Transmuting into a deep yellow streak of light, he tore through the sky and flew straight for the East Sea. His destination was obvious. All eyes in Xianxia Palace turned to the corner where Longchen sat. This result, Xuanwu's karma reaching perfection and then submitting, astonished the assembled great powers even more than the perfection itself. This ancient sacred beast had truly allied with the Dragon Clan. Under dozens of gazes, Longchen seemed unaffected. He picked up the jade cup before him and drained the clear tea. Tea from the Saint's Tao field really did taste good. 3,000 years of preaching had ended. Longchen and his companions returned to the East Sea. Crystal Palace, coiling Dragon Hall. Xuanwu's massive body nearly filled half the hall. Seeing Longchen, he woke from his pretended sleep and hurried to greet him. "Your Highness, you finally returned. How was it? That old fellow Hongjun didn't make things difficult for you, did he?" Xuanwu called out. He wouldn't dare. Longchen rose to the throne. "Fellow Taoist, your karma has reached perfection and your Tao injuries have fully healed. Congratulations." "Hehe, it's all thanks to your Highness's guidance," Xuanwu laughed. "Without you, I'd still be lying at the bottom of the North Sea." They took their seats. Longchen briefly explained the three corpses slaying method Hongjun had preached in Xianxia Palace and the business of the saint's position. After he finished, the hall fell silent. Xuanwu stroked his rock-like chin and boomed, "Slay the good, slay the evil, slay the self. Cut oneself into 3 pieces and put them into treasures? This method sounds like a path, but it's not right. If you cut yourself into pieces, is it still you?" he continued, glancing at Longchen. "What if the parts you cut out one day don't obey and end up stabbing you in the back?" Longchen nodded. "What fellow Taoist said is precisely the danger in this method. It panders to the heavenly Tao, cutting one's feet to fit the shoes. It's not the path we seek." Beside him, Zulong's ancient voice added, "This method runs contrary to our Dragon Clan's bloodline foundation. Our path is purity. Slaying the 3 corpses would be self-destruction of our root." The dragon lords around the hall murmured in agreement. Though the saint's method had merit, it did not suit the Dragon Clan. After the serious discussion, the atmosphere lightened. Then Xuanwu suddenly leaned forward, dropped his voice, and his expression grew extremely solemn. "Your Highness, besides thanking you for my return, I have an idea I've held for countless years. I'd like to ask your judgment." "Fellow Taoists, speak. During those years I was suppressed in the Western Earth vein. my divine soul was connected to the earth. I felt that land's prosperity and decline day and night. Xuanwu's tone fell as he recalled that long time. At first there was loneliness and boredom. Later, I began to hear something different. I could hear water veins spreading like a spiderweb beneath the earth. I could hear the first drops of melting snow on the mountain peaks, how they gathered into streams, rushed into rivers, and finally flowed to the four seas. I could hear rain from the sky seeping into the ground, and the water vapor from the ground rising to form clouds. Then I understood something. Xuanwu raised his head. In his ancient eyes, a madness suppressed for ages flickered to life. Your Highness, our dragon clan now holds authority over the four seas. But the water between heaven and earth is far more than the four seas. He threw his voice out like thunder, making eardrums buzz. On the continent, there are great rivers, lakes, and marshes. Above the nine heavens, there is the inverted heavenly river and the surging sea of clouds. Below the nine nether are the yellow springs, the river of oblivion, and the weak water of forgetfulness. Even the dew on leaves and the blood in living beings, their origin, are of the water element. Coiling Dragon Hall fell into a deathly silence. Ao Nan, Dragon Lord of the South Sea, gaped. Ao Shi, Dragon Lord of the West Sea, froze with his teacup held midair. Even Zulong's calm eyes rippled. Xuanwu ignored their shock and continued, breath coming fast with the fervor of his vision. I am thinking, if we can use great magical power to sort all the water veins between heaven and earth, gather the origin of all these waters into one place, and refine it into a supreme water element treasure. Then use that supreme treasure to feed our dragon clan's bloodline and purify our true spirits. His voice trembled with excitement, each sentence a clap that reverberated through the dragons' hearts. Then our dragon clan will no longer be dragons of the four seas. We will be dragons of 10,000 waters, ruling all the waters of heaven and earth. Bloodline will no longer be a limitation, but a ladder to ascend. By then, never mind Hongjun's Xuanmen, what right does even the heavenly Tao have to dictate our fate? Holy crap, Ao Nan blurted, unable to contain himself. He leaped up, scales trembling with excitement, glaring at Xuanwu, his face flushed. Old turtle, you're a damn genius. Take control of all the waters under heaven? If this is done, what would we have to fear from Xuanmen? Nonsense. Ao Shi rose too, solemn, and set his cup down hard. Divine Venerable Xuanwu, your idea is grand beyond measure, and Ao Shi admires it. But what about feasibility? The water veins of the Great Desolation are tangled. Which major river on the continent doesn't flow through a great power's Tao field? The Nine Heavens Star River is coveted by the Yao race. The Nine Nether River already belongs to others. He drew a breath and stated the critical issue. This would be to make enemies of the entire Great Desolation. What if we make enemies of the world? Ao Nan roared back, bristling. Second brother, you're overthinking. Our dragon clan once ruled the world. What's wrong with taking back what's ours? Are we just going to guard the four seas and wait to die? This isn't taking back, it's robbery, Ao Shi snapped. Once we move, we'll invite the siege of every power. Our clan cannot withstand that chaos. The argument flared. Zulong, silent until now, slowly opened his eyes and looked toward Long Chen, who had also been quiet on the throne. Long Chen had been watching, his fingers tapping the armrest in a steady rhythm. At last, he raised his hand. Sounds in the hall ceased. Every dragon's gaze settled on him. Long Chen descended the steps and walked among them, his look sweeping over the varied faces. This plan is a genius's idea, and it is also the act of a madman. He stopped in the center of the hall. It's a great opportunity, but it carries the risk of clan destruction. He fixed his eyes on Xuanwu with undisguised admiration. What a 10,000 waters converging on dragon. Then he turned to the worried Ao Shi. Second uncle, I know the risks you mentioned. Making enemies of the world is no small thing. His voice sharpened. But tell me, aren't we already enemies of the world? Xuanmen wants obedient dogs. The demon court wants stepping stones. The witch clan occupies lands and needs food. What reclusive great power doesn't covet the riches of our four seas? We are confined to the four seas, seeming secure, but in truth we are guarding a piece of fat meat surrounded by a pack of hungry wolves. Our so-called stability is merely prolonging our agony. Long Chen flicked his sleeve and his words rang through the hall. Instead of sitting and waiting for them to put a knife to our throats, why don't we be the ones to draw the blade first? What fellow Taoist Xuanwu proposed is not madness, but a way to break the deadlock. It is the only way our dragon clan can survive. He faced Xuanwu solemnly. Fellow Taoist, I approve of your idea. Not only do I approve, but I will personally preside over it and commit the full strength of our clan. We will complete this unprecedented and glorious undertaking together. From today on, 10,000 waters converging on dragon will be the highest strategy of our dragon clan. Chapter 58. The prince refines the treasure and the magic pearl is formed. Your Highness, absolutely not. Zulong's voice trembled, barely restraining his agitation. Gather the origin of all waters in heaven and earth? How was that any different from snatching food from the bowls of every great power in the great desolation? His dragon eyes, which had seen countless ages pass, were grave. The heavenly river above the 9 heavens was the foundation Dijun of the Yao race had tended for ages. The Blood Sea underworld river below the 9 underworlds was filthy and haunted by an undying monster. The continent's rivers, lakes, and seas were the lifelines of the various Wu race tribes. Zulong's words were low, and each one struck deep into the hearts of the dragons in the hall. If we act like this, even stealing a sliver of origin will be the same as declaring war on the Wu and Yao races and all living beings in the Great Desolation. We'll make more enemies and land ourselves in far greater peril than during the Dragonhan calamity. That's right, Your Highness. Aodong's anxiety showed for the first time. The Dragon Lord's usual fierce composure had given way to worry. It wasn't easy for the Dragon Clan to reach this point, stabilizing the 4 seas so our people could recover, and we can't risk upending all that. Stable? Longchen turned, calm and cutting, as he looked at the 2 elders who had poured their lives into the Dragon Clan. You call this stable? He walked to the coiling Dragon Hall's open doors. Outside lay the deep blue sea, placid on the surface, but beneath it lurked countless deadly undertows. In Xianxia Palace there are 3,000 guests, and before long at least 6 saints will be watching over all living things, the 3 pure ones, Nua, and those 2 from the west. The words were quiet, but every syllable made the dragon scales of Zulong and Aodong stand on end. Saints established Taoist temples, accept disciples, and found great sects. Their disciples need resources, immortal caves, and karma. Do you think they won't reach for the fertile 4 seas? He pointed toward the boundless ocean. One day, a disciple of Yuanshi Tianzun descends and claims some immortal island in the East Sea is fated to his sect and wants to borrow it to found a Taoist temple. Do we hand it over? When those 2 bald monks from the west come south and say our water race creatures are fated to their teachings and demand to convert them, do we let them? How will we argue with a saint then? With the heavenly Tao's empty promises of forever guarding the 4 seas, or with the scrap of karma we can offer, a scrap a saint would laugh at? Silence fell like a stone in the coiling Dragon Hall. Zulong and Aodong's chests rose and fell with heavy breaths. Longchen's words had mercilessly shredded the illusion of stability they had clung to. Our fate has never been entrusted to the kindness of others. Longchen returned to the center of the hall, fixing his gaze on Xuanwu. Fellow Taoist, Xuanwu's myriad waters converging to dragon is not madness. It is a path to survival. The only way for our dragon clan to reclaim its destiny from the hands of the heavenly Tao. The road ahead is a mountain of knives and a sea of fire, but it is one we must walk. He made his tone a command. This matter requires our joint effort. You once merged with the earth. Your divine thought can unify with the great desolation's earth veins. Pinpoint the origin nodes of every water vein across the Great Desolation and project their coordinates to me. Xuanwu's mountain-like head nodded with a deep thud. No problem. I will preside over the East Sea, Longchen continued. Using the seal of the 4 seas orthodoxy as a guide and the 24 heavens worlds as a furnace, I will extract and refine these origins. His eyes sharpened. Remember, we must move like thieves. Each time we take only 1/10,000th of an origin, so as not to alarm the owners. This will take a long time, but we can wait. Our goal is to shape this supreme treasure before Hongjun's second sermon. Begin now. With that, the tone in the coiling dragon hall shifted. Xuanwu prostrated himself and closed his eyes. His divine thought unfurled like billions of threads, probing silently along the great desolation's earth veins from the East Sea. As his mind passed, countless imperceptible points of light lit the void realm in front of Longchen. Underground rivers, deep mountain marshes, immortal caves, snow-glazed glaciers, dense dots of light forming an unprecedented map of the great desolation's waters. Longchen sat on his throne beneath the cascading waterlights of the seal of the Four Seas orthodoxy. His primordial spirit merged with the seal, setting a will to spread across the Four Seas and through Xuanwu's nodes into the entire Great Desolation. By decree, within the Four Seas, throughout the 8 desolations, all waters converge. At that command, every water vein felt an almost imperceptible pull. Bai Zhe, the Yao general patrolling the heavenly river, frowned when the river's level dipped a hair, but found no clear anomaly. In the 9 underworlds' blood sea, old ancestor Ming He stirred, sensing a fleeting tug of pure origin, so brief he blamed a heart demon. On Kunlun Mountain in the Jade Pool immortal realm, the Queen Mother of the West noticed a near-invisible ripple as a wisp of pristine innate water drifted away. Millions, tens of millions, of origins of different attributes, like the Tao itself, ignored distance and boundaries to converge toward the coiling dragon hall. Zulong, Aodong, and the others watched in stunned silence as those multicolored origins were swallowed by the 24 heavens worlds behind Longchen. A creation-level law tore them apart, stripped them down, recombined, and refined them. The process assaulted the mind. 30 years passed. Longchen's face had grown a little pale. Xuanwu's great shell trembled. The strain of maintaining such precise positioning for so long weighed even on him. "Your Highness?" Aoshi's lips moved to plead, but Zulong's look stopped him. Once the arrow is loosed, there's no turning back. 99 years passed. The high-ranking members of the Dragon Clan held their breaths in the hall. The 24 heavens worlds behind Longchen had coalesced into a vast vortex. In its center, millions of water origins condensed toward a single point. "Coagulate!" Longchen roared, veins bulging as he poured the last of his magical power into the effort. The coiling dragon hall shuddered. All the light converged into a fist-sized globe of churning, chaotic liquid that hung in midair. It no longer cast a steady glow, and yet it was brighter than the sun. Silent, it seemed to be the source of all water in the great desolation, a heart that slowly beat. Thump. Each beat made the bloodline of every dragon present resonate and bent the water law of the entire East Sea to its will. "It's done." Xuanwu opened his eyes. Exhaustion and ecstasy washed through his voice. Just one last step. Longchen's face was ashen, but his eyes shone with fierce clarity. He studied the chaotic sphere and spoke slowly. "This thing has gathered the myriad waters, but it is still inanimate. It lacks spirit. It needs a catalyst to ignite its true soul and give it life." "What catalyst?" Xuanwu asked urgently. "There are 3 extreme waters in the Great Desolation," Longchen said. "The true sun water on the sun star, pure yang, fierce. The true lunar water on the lunar star, pure yin, gentle. And the 3 lights divine water, the fusion of sunlight, moonlight, and starlight, containing the vitality of creation. Any one of these will perfect this treasure." Xuanwu's eager face fell immediately. "Your Highness, aren't you making it impossible for this old turtle? The true sun water is in that feathered bird Dijun's nest. The true lunar water is guarded by the lunar goddess, and only Tao ancestor Hongjun has the 3 lights divine water. If we go to any of those places, won't we be asking for our heads?" "No." Longchen shook his head. "There is another place that contains the 3 lights divine water." "Where?" Xuanwu's gaze was desperate. Longchen's eyes pierced the endless sea and then fixed on the center of the Great Desolation continent. Kunlun Mountain, the Taoist domain of the 3 pure ones. Transformed from Pangu's primordial spirit, the ancestor of 10,000 mountains, the jade pool at its summit has gathered the purest essences of sun, moon, and stars since the world's creation. It must hold 3 lights divine water. He looked at Xuanwu with renewed gravity. "Fellow Taoist, this will require one more great exertion from you. You bear the immeasurable karma of suppressing the West. Fortune favors you, and your alignment with the earth veins and unmatched earth evasion technique make you the only one capable of infiltrating Mount Buzhou and retrieving the divine water." Xuanwu fell silent. Kunlun Mountain, one of the most dangerous places in the Great Desolation, the territory of the Three Pure Ones. After a long pause, his muffled voice rumbled, "Your Highness, just tell me, are we taking it outright or stealing it?" "Pangu's legacy is for those who are able," Long Chen said with righteous conviction. "For the Dragon Clan, as beings of the Great Desolation, to claim some of this legacy to strengthen the cycle of heaven and earth's water veins is an act that accords with heaven and answers humanity. How can it be called stealing?" Xuanwu's huge eyes rolled, and he muttered, "It all sounds the same to me." Then he nodded heavily, his voice like distant thunder. "Very well. Kunlun Mountain, you say? That's the Three Pure Ones' turf. For your Highness, for the Dragon Clan, this old turtle will go and greet those three today." With that, his massive form dissolved into a yellow light that slipped silently into the Crystal Palace floor and vanished. Long Chen carefully sealed the chaotic water sphere with the sea-stabilizing divine pearl. Everything was ready. Only the final push remained. And as the Dragon Clan stirred the Great Desolation's water veins to refine their supreme treasure, a great event was unfolding elsewhere on the Great Desolation continent. Chapter 59, The Demon Clan. Establish the sky and Emperor Jun's merits. As Xuanwu made his move, high above the 9 heavens on the Sun Star, inside the Demon Emperor Palace, where starlight served as pillars and constellations formed the roof, Dijun sat upon his imperial throne, his gaze cast downward. Below him, the 10 great demon saints, the 365 star gods, and tens of thousands of powerful Yao cultivators formed a dense, motionless mass. The air in the hall was heavy enough to press on one's divine soul. "Everyone," Dijun began. His voice was not loud, but it reached the heart of every demon god. "Our Yao race has absorbed countless peoples. It has been more than 100,000 years. Across the Great Desolation, who can match our Yao in power and in arms?" He paused, 2 flames glowing in his golden pupils. "However, we occupy 70% of the continent and govern billions of living beings, yet the luck we receive is no greater than that of the barbaric Zhuwu tribes beneath Mount Buzhou, who still drink blood and eat raw meat. Heavenly Tao is unjust." Those last 2 words landed like a judgment. The hall shattered into uproar. "Your Majesty is right. We instruct the masses and govern rivers and mountains. Why should we be equated with those Zhuwu who live only to destroy?" cried Bai Zhe, stepping forward with a sharp, indignant voice. "The Zhuwu do not venerate heaven or respect the Tao ancestor. They only honor Pangu. They are a tumor on heaven and earth. I request your Majesty's edict. I, Zhu Ying, am willing to be the vanguard to flatten Mount Buzhou and grind the 12 Zhuwu to dust." A 9-headed vicious beast roared, its killing intent coalescing. "Kill! Kill!" The shouts of war nearly overturned the dome of the Demon Emperor Palace. Only 2 figures below Dijun remained unmoved. Dijun closed his eyes, and the chaos bell beside him chimed softly, suppressing the uproar. The Demon Master Kunpeng bowed his head. His eyes were shadowed and unreadable. Silence. Dijun raised his hand, and the hall fell utterly quiet. "The Zhuwu have already set their foundation. The time to act is not yet ripe." His gaze pierced the palace and stretched into the boundless sky. "Our Yao race seeks luck and the recognition of the heavenly Tao. There is but one path: to establish an unprecedented order, an order that will rule the Great Desolation." He rose, and the sun, moon, and stars embroidered on his imperial robe seemed to stir to life. "We were born in the sky and grew among the stars. What harm is there in temporarily ceding some land to those barbarians? But the sky itself must and can only belong to our Yao race." His voice rose until each word rang like a divine decree. "Today, I, Dijun, announce to the Great Desolation: our Yao race shall establish the heavenly court. With the stars of the cosmos as its foundation, the river diagram and Luo book as its law, it shall oversee heaven and earth and carry out heaven's punishments. I shall be the heavenly emperor. Taiyi shall be the East Emperor. Kunpeng shall be the Demon Master." Dijun's gaze swept the hall and finally rested on Kunpeng. Who agrees with this proposal? Who dares oppose it? A pin could be heard drop in the palace. Every demon god looked up at that figure, breath held. Establish the heavenly court? Enforce heaven's punishments? This was an attempt to seize control of the very sky of the Great Desolation. After a tense silence, Fanaticism erupted like a volcano. We obey the heavenly emperor's command. The 10 great demon saints were first to kneel on one knee. Immediately, the 365 star gods and the tens of thousands of demon gods followed in a tide of submission, heads bowed to the ground. Dijun finally allowed a hint of a smile. He exchanged a glance with Taiyi, and the two brothers stepped forward above the clouds of the 9 heavens. Dijun held the river diagram and the Luo book. Taiyi wore the chaos spell on his head. They faced the ethereal heavenly Tao and spoke with the voice of their entire race. Heavenly Tao above. Today, Dijun and Taiyi of the Yao race, seeing the chaos in the order of the Great Desolation, are willing to establish the heavenly court, to suppress the luck of heaven and earth with the Grand Stellar Revolution Array, to regulate all laws with the river diagram and Luo book, and to punish the disobedient with the chaos bell. The Yao race heavenly court, established. As the final word fell, the sky dimmed for an instant. Far above, beyond the 33 heavens, a sea of golden karma clouds gathered, their enormity blotting half the sky. Even Grand Unity golden immortals gasped at the oppressive pressure. The karma sea churned and compressed until it split into 3 parts. The largest portion, 50%, condensed into a golden pillar of light that descended and poured into Dijun's forehead. His aura exploded outward. The bottleneck of Grand Unity shattered with a thunderous crack. A quasi-saint pressure, far greater than that of a Grand Unity golden immortal and towering above all living beings, swept across the Great Desolation, centered on the Sun Star. On Kunlun Mountain, the 3 pure ones simultaneously opened their eyes and looked to the sky. In the 5 villages temple, Genuanzi's horsetail whisk snapped taut. In the deep palace of northern darkness, Kunpeng felt 10% of karma stir within him. He looked toward the Sun Star with darkened eyes. 30% of the karma flowed into Taiyi's body, pushing his cultivation to the peak of Grand Unity, one step from becoming a quasi-saint. The remaining 10% showered the Sun Star's golden rain, enlightening countless Yao folk and causing many to break through in their cultivation. For a while, the Great Desolation fell into stunned silence. The Yao race has established the heavenly court. Dijun has become a quasi-saint. The Great Desolation has changed. In the East Sea, inside the Crystal Palace, the quasi-saint pressure lowered the sea 3 inches. In the Coiling Dragon Hall, Aodong slid off his chair with a plop, his face as pale as drained water. "Your Highness, Dijun, he became a quasi-saint." His voice trembled with fear. Establishing the heavenly court, gaining karma, becoming a quasi-saint. What a grand scheme. Zulong murmured, his ancient dragon eyes grave. "He's imitating us." Longchen sipped his tea calmly. "Imitating us?" Aodong jumped up again, stamping his foot. "Your Highness, how can that be the same? His commotion is 10 times what we caused back then. Now he's a quasi-saint, and he has the river diagram, the Luo book, and the chaos bell. Once the heavenly court stands, he'll make an example of our 4 seas next." "He won't." Longchen set his cup down and walked to the hall entrance to stare at the unnaturally still sea under that pressure. "When our dragon clan swore to the heavenly Tao back then, what did we vow?" Aodong answered without thinking, "To forever guard the 4 seas and never set foot on the continent." Exactly. The key was never setting foot on the continent. Longchen turned to the frightened faces in the hall. "When we vowed retreat, we truly retreated. Beyond the 4 seas, we did not harm a single blade of grass. In exchange for control of the continent, we bought ourselves time to recover." "What about Dijun?" Long Chen's voice carried a trace of mockery. "He has established the heavenly court and seized the sky, but where is his foundation? Where are his billions of demon soldiers?" "They're all still on the ground," Zulong said hoarsely. "His ambition is to swallow both heaven and earth in one gulp," Longchen continued, moving to the map of the Great Desolation's water veins. His finger fell on the center, Mount Buzhou. "Do you think the heavenly Tao will allow him to dominate alone?" "No." Zulong's voice was low. "Exactly. The heavenly Tao demands balance. The larger Dijun's ambition, the more the Tao will support another force to counterbalance him. Just wait. It won't be long before those beneath Mount Buzhou are granted their own opportunity. The grand drama of the Great Desolation has only just begun." Dong and the others followed Long Chen's pointing finger, watching their fear drain away and be replaced by thought. At that moment, Long Chen's brows twitched. A divine thought, spanning billions of miles, resonated directly in his sea of consciousness. It was Xuanwu's anxious voice. Your Highness, I've reached Kunlun Mountain. What kind of terrible idea was this of yours? The winds at the mountain peak feel like knives, carving my shell. That Pangu pressure is crushing my old bones. Are you sure the Three Lights divine water is really in this godforsaken place? Long Chen smiled and sent a reply by divine thought. Fellow Taoist, don't be anxious. Look up. At the center of the mountain peak, isn't there a patch of 5-colored auspicious light? Below that light is a pool. The Three Lights divine water is in it. Oh, right. Xuanwu's voice eased. Long Chen added, with a note of warning, be careful. Those 3 pure ones are Hongjun's future disciples. Xuanwu's turtle eyes popped wide as perfect coins. Hongjun's future disciples? 3 of them? He cursed Long Chen 100 times in his head. This wasn't seeking an opportunity. This was driving his old turtle self straight into a trap. Well, since he was already here, he nudged his massive head through a fissure in the mountain rock. 2 beady green eyes peered stealthily into the 5-colored auspicious light. The wind hitting his face didn't sting so much as erode. The Chaos Fiend wind, a remnant from the universe's forging, carried fragments of law in every gust, scraping the turtle shell with metallic clanks and sending sparks flying. To an ordinary Grand Unity Golden Immortal, a single scrape could have flayed off a layer of Tao body. Worse was the pressure. Kunlun itself pulsed like a living thing, Pangu's will to hold up heaven and split earth imprinted in every inch of soil, pressing down on Xuanwu's shell. When he moved a little, his joints protested with painful groans. Your Highness, you really picked the worst spots, he complained inwardly. Long Chen's voice was cool and direct in his mind. In the very center of the peak, where the auspicious light is thickest, there's a pool. The water is inside. Xuanwu squinted against the fiend wind. There was indeed a clear pond, bottom visible through glassy water, 5-colored light swirling over it. A top-tier, earthly spiritual root had clearly birthed it, but his eyes fixed on the 3 figures beside the pond. A white-bearded old Taoist sat cross-legged, eyes closed. A Taiji diagram hovered before him, black and white chi circling like a miniature cosmos. He had fused with the mountain itself. When divine insight swept past, there was almost nothing to perceive. The middle Taoist stood straight, jade rui scepter in hand, expression solemn. Within a span around him, even the Chaos Fiend wind bent away, forming an absolute stillness. The youngest reclined casually with a green-sheathed longsword across his knees. Xuanwu only glanced at that sword and felt his primordial spirit prick as if cut by an invisible blade, the urge to keep his distance instant and physical. Their chi shared a single source. The creative karma crowning them could not be wiped away. They were the 3 pure ones, formed from Pangu's primordial spirit. Xuanwu's face went pale. Up close, it was worse. Each of them possessed grand unity, golden, immortal perfection, and their foundations were frighteningly deep. Your Highness, these are the orthodox Pangu lineage, future heavenly Tao saints. Xuanwu barked in his divine thought. How can I approach? Crawl over and offer myself up like a stool. Long Chen's voice did not hurry. What are you afraid of? You carried the boundless karma of suppressing the West. The heavenly Tao owes you. As future saints, they won't act rashly toward you. To do so would stain their Tao heart and ruin any chance at sainthood. And Pangu's legacy is for whoever finds it. They're born of Pangu. You're a reincarnation of a chaos fiend god. In seniority, you're not inferior. Go up and say you're thirsty. Ask for a bowl of water. Ask? Xuanwu's eyes darted, forming a plan. Reason with them? He didn't believe these 3 would be persuaded. Steal and run was undignified. Asking outright felt shameful. Then he had an idea. He withdrew his massive aura and fused with the mountain's earthly veins beneath his feet. Using his innate earth power, he turned into an unremarkable rock, clinging to the ground and inching toward the pond. 100 zhang, 50 zhang, 10 zhang. The 3 Taoists kept their eyes closed, completely oblivious to his approach. Xuanwu's heart leapt. Maybe these future saints weren't so special now. He grew bolder, streaming forward as a barely perceptible earthy yellow light and slipped to the pond's edge. The plan was simple. Reach in with a claw, scoop as much as possible, even a single drop counted. Then, earth dune and flee. Just as his claw tip brushed the surface, a calm, ancient voice sounded, ignoring space and his Tao sense and drilling straight into the deepest part of his primordial spirit. Fellow Taoist, since you've come, why hide your head and tail? Cold ran through Xuanwu's blood. He looked up. The white-bearded Taoist, Tai King Laozi, had opened his eyes without Xuanwu noticing. He regarded the stone where Xuanwu hid with the same placid gaze. The other two looked settled on him as well, one measuring, one sharp as a sword. Damn it, Xuanwu swore inwardly and pushed with all four legs to burrow deeper into the earthly veins. Fellow Taoist, since you've revealed yourself, why not meet? Tai King's voice remained calm. He formed a simple seal. The Taiji diagram before him twirled. There was a buzz. A golden bridge sprang from the diagram. One end anchored to the scroll, the other fell with absolute accuracy onto Xuanwu's shell. In an instant, surrounding rocks and earthly veins were suppressed by supreme power, turning harder than innate divine iron. Xuanwu's earth dune failed. Damn it! Realizing escape was impossible, he dropped the disguise. In a flash, his true form appeared, a black mountain turtle, huge enough to look like a small hill, his bulk causing the five-colored light to pulse. Three fellow Taoists, a misunderstanding, he boomed, forcing a smile he hoped looked honest and simple. I was merely passing by, tired from climbing. Seeing this fine water, I meant only to ask for a drink. Ask for water? The middle Taoist, Yuanshi Tianzun, rose. He carried an innate majesty that looked down on all beings. His gaze at Xuanwu was like scolding a lump of filth. You, a creature with fur and scales born of dampness and eggs, how dare you ascend my jade-clear Kunlun and drink the same divine water as us, the orthodox Pangu lineage? His words were measured, but every one dripped with the arrogance of bloodline. Your actions are suspicious. You are coveting the opportunities of my brothers, you fiend. Xuanwu's forced smile snapped away. All his life, he hated his origins being dragged into the open. Hey, you old Taoist with a bull's nose, is your mouth full of dung? He retorted, straightening his neck. What do you mean, your opportunity? Kunlun was formed from the primordial spirit of the great Pangu. The treasures here were left by Pangu for all the living of the great desolation. You arrived a few 10,000 years earlier and want to claim this hill as your latrine? If Pangu knew his divided primordial spirit had been so stingy, he'd crawl out of the chaos in fury. Presumptuous. Before Yuanshi could respond, the Taoist with the sword, Tongqian, exploded. He had the fiercest temper. He could not tolerate anyone insulting Pangu, let alone his second brother. Bold demon turtle, failing to steal, you still spit filth here. He stepped forward and drew the Qingping sword with a ringing clang. The sword's cry stilled the boundless fiend wind for an instant. Today you'll learn that the orthodox Pangu lineage cannot be insulted. A green sword light tore the void. It bore no raw, killing intent, but the resolute Tao rhythm of severing roots aimed square at Xuanwu's forehead. Good timing. Xuanwu did not dodge. He roared. Black-yellow light flared above his shell, the boundless karma he had gained from suppressing the West, a layer impervious to laws. Clang! The green blade struck, sparks exploded. The sword that could cleave mountain ranges left only a shallow white line on his shell. Tongqian's arm went numb. What a hard shell! Again! He roared, heart only harder. With a flick, the Qingping sword became a rain of green blades, enveloping Xuanwu. Afraid of you? Never! Xuanwu opened his mouth and vomited a jet of black water. It was only as thick as an arm, but carried the weight of the North Sea. Wherever it passed, space itself bowed. His innate divine ability, Xuanming True Water, surged. On Kunlun's summit swordlight wove like threads while black water rose in countercurrent. Yuanshi frowned. His three treasures Jade Ruyi flashed, ready to assist. Second brother, wait, Taiching Laozi said, holding up a hand. He had been still until now. His gaze pierced through the two combatants and pinned Xuanwu's hulking body. For the first time, a flicker of contemplation crossed those placid eyes. This Xuanwu is not simple. The karma on him is as deep as an abyss, not something he earned by cultivation alone, but bestowed by the heavenly Tao. As Taiking spoke, he counted faintly with his sleeve. Moments later, a subtle change passed over his face. He lifted his head, eyes seeming to pierce hundreds of millions of miles of void to the far east. The root of this aura, It comes from the East Sea. He is of the Dragon clan.